and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as you join us for round number 4 of the 2026 Mastermac FAB-Racing British Minibike Championship. We're down here in Suffolk to Ellough Park Raceway for the 4th round of our campaign. Off the back of the opening 3 rounds of the season, we'll embark our way into the second half of 2026 this weekend. It's myself, Zach Sweeney, Riley Davis alongside me in the commentary box to bring you all of the racing action over the course of this weekend. And Riley, as we're towards the tail end of our qualifying sessions, a lot of excitement coming into this weekend. Basically is the stage setter for the Junior GP event at Silverstone in a couple of weeks' time as well.
Yes, the countdown is nearly over. As you said, just 2 weeks to go until, as you may hear many times, many in this stream and many in previous, that this is the biggest mini-bike event in Britain and in its entire history as well. It's going to be a great show, whether you're on track, whether you're watching at the track, or whether you're with us like you are now on stream. Me and Zach will be there live with that one for you, and I'm so excited. But for now, as you said, we've got some racing coming here at Ellough Park, and if the last round at Hooton Park was anything to go by, we've got some really good races on our hands.
We do indeed. A stark contrast, I think, Hooton Park to Ellough Park. Both obviously geographically, one's up north, one's here in East Anglia, but also in terms of the track, configuration as such. You know, this circuit, we have spoken to a couple of riders, and as a circuit in of itself, in some of the lower classes, maybe going to be a little bit more difficult to overtake, but as we go through into the 50s, 70s, pit bikes and extremes, that's where really we're going to see quite a lot of action and overtakes, because as we were exploring a little bit earlier, the track itself definitely has a couple of decent overtaking opportunities, and also as well, not only with a couple of overtaking opportunities, but actually quite a lot of intrigue in terms of the track layout itself, how many very long sweeping corners there are, a little bit of undulation over at the back end of the circuit as well. There's plenty of places where action can happen here at Ellough Park. Yeah, it's one of those tracks that have got everything going for it. It's going to be really interesting to see how different riders play to their different strengths. We've seen many different riders strong at Lydd and Clay Pigeon and also Hooton Park. So combining all of that, you've got a little bit of everything from all 3 of those tracks in here, because Ellough Park is quite a long lap compared to the previous 3 tracks we've had on the calendar. So I think we're going to see many mistakes being made, because it's, as I said, a long lap, so less time to focus on corners as you would a shorter track. But it's going to be a very big difference between how we see racing in the smaller bikes, the mini motos, and then as we gradually get to what you consider the medium-sized bikes of the 50s, maybe the 70s as well, and the Ovale 160s, and then you get to the considered bigger bikes, so the pit bike 140s and the stuff in the Extreme 200s. So when we spoke to Chris Wells earlier, of course, if you don't know, a legend, I guess you could say, in the pit bike 140 category, he was telling us how it's a lot easier here to overtake than it is at Hooton Park, and how it's really difficult in the top end of the track in the final few sectors, because of how different it is to the first half. The first half very fast and flowing, and you hardly even brake, and then you use it all at the end of the lap. But the mini motos, as you said to me earlier, you're going to find it really hard to overtake, because there's not a lot of braking zones for those bikes. Indeed so. Big shout out, by the way, if you are now just joining us. Perfect time to do so, as we're now concluding our final qualifying session of the weekend. For the majority of our classes, it dictates their starting position for all 3 of their races. A little bit different for Moto Team. Qualifying sets race 1, and then race 2, 3 and race 4 are all decided by the previous races' race results. But for the majority of the riders, a very important session then, in order to, give their weekend the best opportunity possible. We have seen some heroic rides from the back of the grid through all 3 races in the past, but it does make your life a little bit easier for all 3 if you can start towards the front end of the field. And for a rider, of course, like Emilio Pereira in the 50 category, he'll be starting that one from pole position. Just sits currently under half a second clear of Ken Ratcliffe, his biggest championship rival, actually, you have to argue, in the 50. So make sure you are tuning in for the Nova Racing Metrokit Mini GP 50 class, because Pereira and Ratcliffe both look unbelievable over the course of the season so far, and have shared a very fierce rivalry. Pereira, though, Ellough Park historically pretty good for him, so no surprise that despite a little bit of a tumble in this session, he sits half a second clear at the top. Yeah, it's been quite an interesting Friday and Saturday morning for both our championship contenders in the GP50 class.
Caelan Ratcliffe, I did notice yesterday, being here on Friday, had a bit of a slip-off as well, and it looked like he injured his hand or his wrist, perhaps, and thankfully he's back out there in fine form. He seems to be quite invincible, of course. If you remember back at Hooton Park, he had quite a big collision at the hairpin. I think he went into the back of Bradley Curtis and came off quite fast, and we weren't actually sure if he was uninjured, but he came back, he got back on the bike and raced straight away in the GP70 race after the restart. So it's really good to see him getting up so quickly, and I think as we see Emilio Pereira getting back on his bike to take it back to pit lane, that nothing is motivating them more than the fight in the title between each other. So I think the bike will be fine. We've got quite a while until we get to GP50R or GP50, in which Emilio Pereira will be racing in. So I think they're going to be getting that bike all nicely sorted, and that metric at number 31 will be back out and ready to challenge for victory.
Indeed so. Well, the qualifying session has now just concluded, so I think we're awaiting the arrival of potentially one more session before we then head our way to the moto team for the first race of the weekend. So one more qualifying session in order to dictate the starting order. We will see the Extreme 200 class out on circuit, both the mixture of the juniors and the seniors, and also as well, Riley, a bit of intrigue with the Extreme class, because as we usually expect back at Clay Pigeon, it was Henry McCartney, it was Harrison Day who joined us as a bit of wild cards. We have also got a FAB-Racing legend in the form of Wilson Dilks joining us as well. So, yeah, the Extreme class has been as competitive as ever, and as we always like to see, the extra spanners thrown into works, the bombshells, if you will, that drop their way in from weekend to weekend.
Yeah, and not just the riders being thrown into the mix as well, but the bikes also. You'll hear us talk a lot about the difference in machinery in Extreme 200, because in the name, it's extreme. There is such a vast majority of different motorcycles, which is really considered the anything goes class here in FAB Racing, because there's a maximum limit of 100cc for 2 strokes, and then I believe 180 for a 4-stroke. So you'll see ovales, you'll see pit bikes. The 140 pit bikes in some cases. Some people use different bikes, like Jamie King, but others like Harrison Quincy would just be out there trying to get some more track time on their 140s. But then there'll be people on their GP70s, and as I formerly mentioned, ovales, they'll usually be 160s. So that Tommy Keats, he'll be competing for the top 5 on that, and then people on pit bikes as well, but a bit of a different one from usually the 140s. You'll see 85 2-strokes. That's what Henry McCartney used at Clay Pigeon. 150 4-strokes. That's what Harrison Day used. But this time we're seeing that pit bike, the 2-stroke pit bikes, return in the form of Riley Paisley. He's back out here for the first time at FAB this season in the Extreme 200 class, and what you'll see in tomorrow's program, a paddock show, where I did speak to him to find out that he's thinking about doing the rest of the season in FAB on that bike. So if he enjoys this one, he's competitive, we might be seeing him for the rest of the season in Extreme 200.
Yeah, really good to see. Riley Paisley, a rider who has grown up in the FAB Racing sphere, and a couple of years ago I remember actually had quite a dramatic incident at Three Sisters up over the crest, sort of as you go up the hill, his engine seized and threw him off, and nice to see him back on the bike so soon after that and to still be continuing. We have got just shy, well, we're now into 2 minutes into the session. They've got probably about 5 or 6 more to set their fastest laps of the session. In terms of the Extreme 200, the junior category, because that's what predominantly a lot of the riders in this class are. They are the juniors, but we have got a number of seniors, so they have split themselves for this season. So the juniors and the seniors scored separately, but racing all together. In terms of the juniors, though, because that is where, like I say, predominantly all the riders are. Sebastian Gazlowski leads the championship after 3 straight victories, winning 5 of the last 6 races, by the way, through Clay Pigeon and Hooton Park. So it's 29 points clear of Bradley Curtis, who has been probably you would argue, his biggest rival. In fact, it's not really much of an argument. You would say his biggest rival across both the 70s and the Extremes. Philly Bowl, who didn't join us at Hooton Park, sits 3rd in the championship from Tommy Keats and Rex Austin inside the top 5. However, I think Wilson Dilks is going to be a little bit of a wild card, because as you can currently currently see, he sits top of the timesheets. In terms of his fastest lap time, he sits, well, 4.5 tenths clear of Sebastian Gazlowski in second. It's a 47.73 for Wilson Dilks. It's a 48.18 for Sebastian Gazlowski, who himself sits firmly clear of Bradley Curtis in P3.
Yeah, certainly didn't take him long at all. So again, what I said there about the difference in machinery, making for some really interesting qualifying sessions, and then races later on. Extreme 200 will be the penultimate race of Saturday's racing, so that'll be a good way to end it off. And it's a shame really that the seniors won't be at Silverstone, but it'll be good to see them getting out there in Ellough Park, because it's a really good track for the bigger bikes. It makes it probably a little bit more of a packed battle than you would normally see. Like we saw at Houghton Park, it was mainly the story of what you call the big three of Jamie King and Chris Wells and Harrison Quincy in the Pit Bike 140 class. But now I feel like it can spread out a little bit more, as I think when Chris Wells came to talk to us, he said the top 6 separated by 0.2 of a second or something like that. So I think we're in for some really good racing in every class here.
I think we are indeed. One thing I did want to mention, obviously, Gazlowski, we mentioned, obviously, GP70s. Once you've won the championship at GP70s, the next logical step is to go into the Moto4 British Cup. Not really an option for Gazlowski, because he is so young and he is so talented at such a young age that you can just see him making his way into the first hairpin. Having a rider like Wilson Dilks, who obviously has won the GP70s, he's won the Extremes back in 2024. The last couple of years has been on bigger bikes at bigger circuits. I think in his rookie season, he managed to bag a couple of podiums in class in the championships that he's racing in at circuits like Cadwell Park, which are notoriously very difficult. For Dilks to come back in, I think this is a really good, if nothing else, a learning opportunity for riders like Gazlowski and Bradley Curtis, because fair enough, it's all well and good racing against each other and learning from each other, but having a rider like Wilson Dilks come in, hit the ground running, be so quick, it's going to force Gazlowski, it's going to force Curtis to find a little bit extra speed and maybe learn a thing or two from their old rival.
Yeah, 100%. They're not quite at that mental stage yet where they'll see these wildcards pull away ahead of them and they'll think, I don't need to push for this. I don't need to attack because this person's not going to affect my championship. We saw that in full force at Clay Pigeon. Of course, the battles in Extreme 200 were just incredible. And if you haven't watched them, then after this broadcast, recommend going back and watching it. It was truly sensational. And hopefully we're going to see a replication of that today. And if we know Sebastian Gazlowski, he will not lay down without a fight, especially if it's someone like Wilson Dilks out in front of him. He wants to prove that he is not just someone who's winning at the moment. He could have done it back then when there was people so fast like Wilson Dilks, like Harrison Day, and he's proving that by destroying those lap records from last year.
Back in 2024, Wilson Dilks as well dominated the GP70 category, and what was a pretty decent field, it must be said. He had riders like Archie O'Brien who, took him all the way through the season. Basically, it was such a good rivalry between the pair of them. Archie O'Brien desperate to get that sort of maiden victory of the season and came ever so close, perilously close on multiple occasions. And what a rivalry the two of them shared. Ultimately, Wilson Dilks had the measure over that one. But yeah, it just goes to show the level of the talent that we've had through the FAB-Racing paddock. For Wilson Dilks, though, he currently sits top of the timesheets with his last lap, a 48.6. However, that's not his personal best. His personal best goes the way of a 47.593. The only other rider into the 47s is Gazlowski. It's just under 4 tenths shy of Wilson Dilks. Behind that comes the 71 of Bradley Curtis. He's on a 48.5. Rex Austin just behind that on a 48.7 from Logan Cousins. Then comes Mason Fedrick, Tommy Keats, Dylan Torin, Riley Paisley, and Harrison Quincy inside the top 10, separated by 1.7 seconds. So a pretty substantial gap, it must be said. But for Sebastian Gazlowski to be within 4 tenths of a rider like Wilson Dilks is a pretty good way to start your weekend.
Yeah, 100%, especially with how experienced Wilson Dilks is. We've just touched on it before, but the lap times that they're putting in at this early stage, because usually we see lap records come along in the races. It's a little bit different to what we'd see in the higher categories, the ultimate racing championships like MotoGP or World Superbikes or British Superbikes. The lap records usually come in qualifying, so have a qualifying tyre and they'll be all pushing everything they can. Whereas in a race, the tyres are the same. There's no difference, and they're all pushing for the win. They're more likely to push for the win because they have more adrenaline after a race start, or if they're in a battle. So for them to be this close to the lap record, which, by the way, in Extreme 200s is a 46.7 by, of course, Wilson Dilks, which was set last year, it's really impressive, and I think that record, maybe not just by Wilson Dilks, but by Gazlowski as well, maybe Bradley Curtis, if he can get close and in the battle, could easily be beaten in this race.
Potentially so, towards the tail end of this session. I'll just keep an eye out for as to whether or not check flag will come out. So 3 minutes left, I've just seen, as Rob puts the timer on the gantry just to warn the riders that their time is of the essence to put a lap in. In terms of how you approach a qualifying session, though, of course, even at this level, they are going to have some sort of a strategy about it. It's not a case of just go out and go as fast as you can for the entire session. Will they have any idea of maybe a push-call, push-run plan? Will the tyres be better activated at the beginning of a session, at the end of the session? Obviously, the track over the course of the weekend will get more and more rubbered in. The more rubber you've got, the more grip you've got. Maybe you can attack the corners a little bit more. How is probably the best way to approach the qualifying session? Have we already seen the fastest laps, or are they still to come in the next 2.5 minutes?
No, the fastest laps are yet to come in the races, specifically tomorrow, when they've got a little bit more track time in the races, and they're more inclined to push. So I think it'll be really impressive to see a lap record happen this early on. It's definitely not out of the realms of possibility. That, as I said earlier, they're not too far off the lap record of Wilson Dilks, but the tyres are a little bit less of an important situation compared to when you get to more professional racing, like when these riders eventually progress into the Moto4 British Cup. That's really where they learn and craft those abilities. But for now, I think you're right about the track being rubbered down for this first race. They're going to be a little bit careful off the start, but by the time we get maybe 2 races out of the way, with all the qualifying sessions we've had on track beforehand, and then the practice sessions all the way through yesterday, there's literally been hardly any time when there hasn't been bikes on track throughout both days. So I think there's plenty of rubber down for them to push on and perhaps see that lap record in the first race, especially since Extreme 200 is closer to the end of today's schedule.
Exactly that. And also don't forget Ellough Park as well. The corporate carts, they're round for, well, as soon as we finish, actually, I think they get corporates out. So there's constantly rubber getting put down. I think last weekend they had Club 100 here as well. So again, a fleet of carts laying down the rubber for the bikes. And I don't know if you've noticed, Riley, it's been quite warm in the UK recently. Not too much rain to wash it all away. Hello and welcome, by the way, if you are now just joining us. About 2 minutes away from the start of the opening race of the weekend. That'll be the first of 4 for the Moto team class, which definitely does look to be fired up in terms of the championship, and well, all to come really in that regards. Well, you'll have to stick around and watch and find out as to how exciting the Moto team championship can be. In terms of this session, though, into the closing stages, still Wilson Dilks sits top of the timesheets with a 47.593 from Gazlowski and Curtis, who are separated, the 3 of them, by less than a second. Wilson Dilks, like I say, this time last year actually also did a wildcard entry at Ellough Park. Both races we had that weekend, the weekend was cut short on the Sunday ever so slightly. However, he did bag both race victories. I think he also did all 3 for the first round back in 2024. He might have also done it for the second time we visited Ellough Park back in 2024, if memory serves me correctly. Definitely wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. So clearly a circuit that he knows very, very well. He will take that pole position. Checker flag is out, and that brings an end to the final qualifying session of the weekend. The grids, of course, then are set, and Wilson Dilks will be on the pole position for all 3 of the extreme races this weekend.
Yeah, great lap by Wilson Dilks to come back and stamp his authority here in Ellough Park and prove why he has those many championships to his name. But Sebastian Gazlowski will be challenging him for that one, and that is of no doubt. What we actually forget is that this is his first time at these tracks every single round we go to on a GP70, because last year he was on the 50s, and the fact he's able to put these laps in, I mean, it doesn't sound a lot, 20cc, but when you're on these tiny little bikes on these really tight tracks, it makes a world of difference, and it really is impressive to see.
Absolutely that. So, well, constantly learning, and yeah, you have to say he's doing very, very well indeed. Just to again remind in the sort of the most recent case, I suppose, of the GP70 FAB-Racing champion going on to bigger and better things, Harrison Day, off the back of Brands Hatch in the Moto4 British Cup. His pace unbelievably promising for his first time at the circuit. I think topping a free practice session and being in podium contention before a crash in what was, I think, the 3rd and final race of the weekend for Harrison Day, but nonetheless looking incredibly competitive up there in the top 10 of the championship. So yeah, definitely the place to be out there on the grid, and for both the extremes and for the 70s, two of the highest flights of mini bike racing in the UK, giving the stepping stone for talent all the way to the World Championship level. We're about to get ourselves ready and raring for the opening race of 11 today, but also the opening race of the weekend entirety. Round number 4 of the 2026 FAB-Racing British Mini Bike Championship. It's time for Moto Team.
First race of the day, and the first of 4 races for Moto Team coming your way here on Saturday afternoon. Half the schedule here on Saturday as we would have on Sunday, but plenty of action. Saturday, in some ways, despite being less on the schedule, is more interesting in some cases because we have no idea what to expect. We've seen qualifying, but it's rarely much to go by, especially in FAB racing, let alone motorcycle racing or motorsport in general. And I think the main story here at Ellough Park is wildcards across many classes, and one of them, a name you'll be very familiar with here in FAB racing, Pit Bike Sonic, or Jamie King, is out there in Moto Team. So it'll be very interesting to see how he gets on and fares against Acme Racing, because one of the big headlines coming into this round is that there was 1 point splitting Marco Pandolfo and Sam Clowes. Of course, if you don't know their real names, their team names, SFC and Acme Racing. But another big headline to follow that, SFC not present. So Acme Racing looking to clean up and take as much points out of them as possible in the championship, heading to the next round of Roura for these guys at the end of August. But can Jamie King stop that?
I mean, is it much of a question? Let's be honest. Jamie King, by the way, as you can see on his bike, basically this is his home circuit. He lives not too far away from Ellough Park, about 25 minutes or so down here in Suffolk. He is regularly here for their bike nights and a big sort of, not officially, but kind of an ambassador for the circuit in that regard. He's here almost here every weekend. So the expectation is on Jamie King to be quick around this circuit. Whether or not that's going to be the case remains to be seen. In regards to, of course, the championship, and Riley very much rightly said, there is only 1 point separating the top 2 in the open class. And for Acme, with the 4 races per weekend, you're punished for missing around. There is no drop scores in FAB Racing, and if Acme can win all 4 races in the open category, they'll bag themselves 100 championship points. That will give them a 99-point lead over SFC going into the rest of the season, and that's going to be a very tough deficit to reclose in that bid for the championship. Yeah,
exactly. You feel like it might just almost write off their championship hopes unless Acme miss around, but considering how dedicated to this championship Marco Pandolfo is, I don't see that happening. If you go by last year, how dominant he was, nearly every single race to his name on the top step of the podium, I don't know if it will be possible for SFC to respond. But if we've seen anything, to be honest, this season in Moto Team, is that anything can happen, especially when lap traffic comes into play. And Houghton Park was a big story of strategy with lap traffic, which will definitely make a difference at these fast corners at Ellough Park.
Exactly that. Of course, well, some of the biggest bikes that we've got in the paddock in the form of the Moto Team. And the intrigue, of course, with Moto Team is the emphasis there on the team. Typically, you will see, oh my goodness me, there's quite a few of them this weekend as well. You'll see similar riders on the bikes, but the point is that the whole, I guess, framework, I suppose, of this championship is the fact that you can swap out the riders. It's the bike that scores the points, not necessarily the rider that's on it. So if you do want to get yourself a race-ready bike and join us for a FAB Racing round, you can split the costs with a mate. There's, of course, 2 qualifying sessions and 4 races, so it splits nice and evenly down the middle if you did want to split yourself and split the costs. Go racing, probably some of the most budget-friendly forms of motor racing in the UK, in the world potentially as well, out there on the grid. You can see the front row of the field, though, the all-green number 8 of Team Acme Racing, alongside, of course, Pit Bike Sonic Jamie King on the front row. Behind that, the 141, that, of course, being Ivana Di Francesco on the all-white machine. He'll be starting directly behind the race leader, although in the standard category, so maybe not vying for overall victory, but who knows when it comes to Moto Team. A little bit of shuffling around on the grid. They'll then go for a formation lap before they grid themselves back up again and go racing around Ellough Park. Just over a kilometre in length, I think 1.1 kilometres in length is Ellough Park. Let us know if you're watching along at home who you are cheering on. Let us know where you're watching from as well. I know we do reach quite a global audience as a championship, so let us know who you're cheering on for, what your favourite race of the weekend is going to be, and how you're finding the action on that build up towards the Junior GP event at Silverstone. Riley, any predictions for this race? Jamie King starting on the front row alongside Team Acme, who are coming into this, of course, with plenty of opportunity and almost an expectation to do a clean sweep.
Well, if Jamie King get a good start, I think we could see a really good battle between him and Acme Racing. Acme Racing on pole position, as to be expected, really, at this point. But Jamie King, there's nothing really that boosts you quite like a home race. And this is very, very much, as you previously mentioned, a home race for Jamie King. It's practically his second home here, especially if you've seen his YouTube channel. So we might just see a duel for the ages between the blue bike and the green bike. Let's see if he can take any points away from Acme and help SFC in the championship fight.
Maybe so. Who knows? Jamie King as well. We'll see him out in the extremes. We'll also see him in the pit bikes doing 3 classes this weekend. He's going to be absolutely exhausted by the end of it, but he does a couple of park runs, so I'm sure he'll be fine. He is on the 76, the red and the white and the black bike, just alongside the team Acme number 8. And as well, Riley, I mean, really good to see. Caught me by surprise a little bit just how many bikes are on that grid with Motor Team. The last couple of years have been a little bit difficult, but into 2026, the championship itself is sort of... it's been a bit of a breath of fresh air for them. They've attracted a lot more talent, a lot more competition, and really the racing in 2026 for Motor Team, truthfully, has been one of the best championships in the paddock. Yeah, makes it all the more interesting, though, when lap traffic comes into play for the race victory, as we now get racing for the first race of the weekend in a few moments' time. Now they're on the warm-up lap. Now, as I formerly mentioned, Acme Racing on pole position, though. I think if they can get a good start, try and break away, I think they can have a really good chance at taking victory. But as you just mentioned there, Zach, a really big field, and lap traffic will really play a part in this race, especially if it comes down to a 1-to-1 fight. But will it be for Jamie King? I'm not too sure, because it's not the bike he's used to. He's ridden this bike quite a few times at Ellough Park and Ellough Park as a whole. But after all, he's pit bike Sonic, not Moto Team Sonic. So you'd think his profession would most likely come in the pit bike class. But we'll have to wait and see how he performs in this one. Indeed. So Team Acme Racing, by the way, have taken 7 of the subsequent, the ongoing 12 races that we've had so far this season. They've been on the podium on 11 of those occasions, not finishing outside the top 2. They did DNF race 4 back at Lydd, where we did have a little bit of a shower just beforehand. I think they suffered a couple of bike problems, but trading victories all the way through the season have been Team SFC and Team Acme Racing, 4 and 7 apiece. But consistency for SFC have put them on top of the championship, but they are not here this weekend. So the opportunity and the pressure potentially lies on the shoulders of Marco Pandolfo. It's eyes to the lights for the first time this weekend. Round number 4 of the FAB-Racing British Minibike Championship, and it's time for some bikes and beckles as we go racing. Side by side as Pit Bike Sonic will try and chuck a move to the inside of the opening corner. Team Acme on the outside of the long sweeping right-hander at turn number 1 will not prevail. It's again another opportunity towards turn number 2. There's a rider down before we've even got themselves going. Meanwhile, a fight for the lead at the front, because down the inside once again, the Team Acme number 8 goes through to keep the race lead.
Quickly responded by Marco Pandolfo on the green machine in the lead. A brilliant move to get the lead back from Jamie King, and that's already putting on display what's so great about Ellough Park here. All sorts of different types of corners, making for such a big challenge on these big bikes. They might not be the biggest that we would see in engine displacement, but certainly the biggest in size, and the riders as well, really. Most of them adults. They're quite tall, so things are going to get really interesting as we progress through the race. Overtakes going to get a little bit rarer as the grid spreads out, but again, lap traffic can make the difference, and I think that's what Jamie King's waiting for. He's building into this, and he's waiting for a mistake at any point in time from Acme Racing.
Yeah, he's got to be careful not to make one himself, though. Back in the pit bikes at Hooton Park, a couple of errors cost him victory on a couple of occasions, battling with Chris Wells and Harrison Quincy on a couple of occasions where victory seemed almost certain. End of the opening lap, by the way, and it's Team Acme Racing that lead the way from Jamie King. Then we're following the battle for third between Ivano Di Francesco and the number 20 of Thomas Dudson. So the battle for the overall podium there, and potentially also an intra-class battle between the two of them. Also, Ivano Di Francesco battling in the standard with Thomas Dudson. So while yes, it's 3rd and 4th overall, it is actually for a class victory. There's the black and purple number 20 of Thomas Dudson chasing after the all-white 141 of Ivana Di Francesco out and through the final corner. This long sweeping right-hander, which can actually catch you by surprise if you're not careful. It should be easily sort of continuously applying the throttle as you go around, but if you get a little bit wrong, get the line slightly wrong, very easy to slip that rear wheel and well, as we've seen on a couple of occasions, either slip the front or go flying.
Or make a mistake on the entry and allow someone through on your inside. Either one, it is not preferable at all. So yeah, it's a really technical track, one where you have to really think about it. And on these bigger bikes, with tracks we've seen so far, with the tracks being so tight, it's a little bit easier to know where to put the bike. And when you see strengths and really fast laps here at Ellough Park, that's when you know someone's really got their bike figured out, really got this class figured out as a whole. But you know, another thing to add to that is just how they overtake people as well. It's such a flowing track. It can either make it better for you or harder. If you're that fast, it can really benefit you to pull away from the rest of the field, but you can be as fast as you want, but you can struggle to overtake, and that will make a big difference. When you catch up to the lap traffic, you're on a flowing circuit like this, it's not as easy as just outbraking who's in front of you.
No, not in the slightest. There are a couple of occasions where that can work, but you have to set it up in advance. You know, it's fair enough, you've got a very nice run into a hairpin. The inside very nicely opens up as well as you go in. So on a racing line and on a hot lap, you come off the back of T number 2, the long right-hander, you bring it back all the way to the right-hand side, but in a race scenario, that inside opens up and can be an opportunity for a late dive to the inside. We saw it a couple of years ago, Lucas Brown on the inside of Jamie King in the pit bikes, happen a number of times, and it can very easily catch you out. So that is one overtaking opportunity, but you're very right in saying that Ellough Park, you have to think methodically about the moves, you have to set them up. There are a couple of hard stops, but they are preceded by very flowy sections. So yeah, you do have to think quite meticulously about the moves that you make. 7 laps left to go though, and Team Atme still lead the way from the 76 of Jamie King, Ivana Di Francesco from Thomas Dudson, then comes Sam Sadler, Jack Van Eden from Mario Gelli, then comes George Knights, O'Keefe and Phil Joyce, up inside the top 10 actually for Phil Joyce, looking very, very nice indeed for the rider who on the 119, who has suffered a little bit so far this season. I think actually a top 10, yeah, bang on the money, exactly where he'd sort of expect to be here at Ellough Park. So looking very, very strong in what is actually, to be fair, a very competitive motor team field. The top 10 this weekend probably is going to mean just that little bit more than it did at rounds previous.
Yeah, exactly that. It's a massive field here at Ellough Park, just proving how much people love this track and how good racing can get here. But when going back to what I was talking about, how it can be difficult to overtake on these bigger bikes, is that getting in the rhythm as well. A fast and flowing track like this can make it, if you're much faster than the person in front of you, you can easily make a mistake trying not to hit them, because you're going to lose a lot more time if you run wide than you would, for example, Outen Park, where you can easily square it off, get the exit and limit that damage. But here you can lose a lot in one corner, so they're all thinking about that, and I think that is what has happened to Jamie King, because he has dropped quite far down now, away from Acme Racing, of course still in second place, but the gap already starting to stretch out by a massive margin to Acme Racing ahead of him. But behind him, the battle for third place overall continues, but it's the story behind it that matters. The battle for the championship of the standard class, as Thomas Dudson chases down Ivano Di Francesco on the white number 141 machine. Thomas Dudson, he's still not managed to find the podium yet overall, just at this point in time of the season, so he'll be really disappointed with that, regardless of his pace. It's surprising to say that he's not managed to get a podium, and I think it might be possible today, because he's done a really good job to stay on board and consistent with Ivano Di Francesco, and is now waiting to find that move.
We saw a pretty close battle as well between Jacques Van Eden and Mario Gelli, the 166 versus the 67. Jacques Van Eden showing up as the 17 though on the time screen, so if you are following along on Speed Hive, but nonetheless that was an inter-class battle, so no consequence in terms of the championship points. 5 laps left to go, and Team Atme are negotiating the first of some of the back markers, that being the number 3 of the Gold member bike, the Arrive and Ride format for this season. Again, Moto Team, it's the bike that scores the points, not necessarily the rider, so it gives the opportunity for aspiring racers to jump on a bike, give it a go, and go racing. But there is your race leader, and to be honest, I mean, it's a bit of a tough weekend for Team Atme because they could win so dominantly, and they are commanding this race. But they can't really excel in terms of their standards, right? The standard that has been set for them this weekend is to go out there and win. Basically, all they're doing right now is making par.
Yeah, no, to be honest, it kind of... It would probably affect you mentally in that sense, just in terms of how you're enjoying the racing, because you haven't got that sparring partner there in terms of SFC. Acme Racing, the expectation is always to come here and win, to come everywhere in FAB-Racing and find victory. And to be honest, with SFC absent from this round, they might not just be pushing as hard as we might see. Marco Pandolfo probably not looking for the lap times that he probably set last year, because after all, if you don't need to do the lap times, it's not worth risking it. And if you haven't got someone to battle, it's a lot harder to push on and continue on amazing speeds.
Exactly that. Just looking now for the battle. So the 67 there, is that green or yellow? I can't tell. Of Jacques Van Eden. Don't ask me in the slightest. Nonetheless, he's leading that little train. Just behind him, Lucas Reed, the 23 from Harrison Quincy, and George Knights in the battle for what is P10 overall, with just 2.5 laps left to go for the opening race of 11. Speaking of the 11, there he is. That's Malcolm Stein making his way in towards turn number 2. Back to our race leader, though. Team Atme, the gap back to Jamie King, now incredibly substantial, so yeah, still impressive nonetheless. Jamie King still waiting for him to cross the line. 8 seconds is the margin that Team Atme has been able to build, on average about a second a lap quicker than Jamie King last time through. 52.693, so 53.443 for Team Atme. Definitely showcasing they're the experts in Moto Team. Still with some lap traffic to negotiate as they'll make their way on to the final lap of the race next time by.
He's broken everyone's spirits and is now relaxing at the front of the field because he doesn't want to push on too hard, as I mentioned earlier. He doesn't want to risk anything, and now going around the outside of Madison Martelou and trying to contend with both of these riders here, and that's a case in point, a perfect example of how difficult it is not just to overtake your rivals, but overtaking lap riders as well is very, very difficult. And now we're going to see Ivano Di Francesco, like he's pulling away as well. He's in third, and Thomas Dudson, unfortunately, looks like that challenge for the podium has started to slip away, but plenty more chances, especially in the case of Moto Team. 3 more races for Thomas Dudson to try and get on the podium, but 3 more races that I think we're going to see Acme Racing on top.
Quite interestingly, though, Jamie King was able to gain nearly 3 seconds, 2.5 seconds on Team Acme that last lap by virtue, of course, of Acme having to negotiate some of those lap riders. Largely going to be inconsequential, and Team Acme, Marco Pandolfo, can take his time negotiating his way through. Final lap of the race, the checker flag, of course, awaits the arrival of the championship leader, who is doing exactly what is expected of him. When your championship rival misses a round, you've got to come out swinging, you've got to maximise it. They'll take the lead of the championship, and with it will take his 8th victory of the season through the final corner here at Ellough Park. The first race of the weekend for Moto Team goes the way of Team Acme Racing. They take victory in the open class, and some 6 seconds later, Jamie King will take his first podium in the 2026 season of Moto Team. A few seconds after that, though, Ivano Di Francesco will take victory in the standard class and extend his lead at the top as well, with also his 8th victory of the season.
Oh, a bit of an issue there, I think, for Ivano Di Francesco. Thankfully, though, after crossing the flag, he'll be grateful for that one. But there you go. There is your top 3. Team Acme Racing, and Jamie King comes home second. And now the timing saying Thomas Dudson came home for 3rd place. So perhaps Ivano Di Francesco rolling to the line. So perhaps getting that issue before then. And Thomas Dudson just making it across the line. So it's a shame we didn't see the end to that one, because that could have been really intense. And Ivano Di Francesco there, you can see, really disappointed to have missed out on the overall podium. And of course the win in the standard class. But just as we were saying, the chances might be over for Thomas Dudson. It looked like we didn't expect that to happen to Thomas Dudson.
It looks like his chain's come off there. You can just see a lot of slack for Ivani Di Francesco, so it does actually promote Thomas Dudson to the victory in the standard class. Nonetheless, though, Team Acme Racing, fastest lap of the race and extending their points lead at the top with victory at Ellough Park. Jamie King on home soil brings it home in P2, with Thomas Dudson P3 overall, his first overall podium of the season, and a victory in the standard class. Ivani Di Francesco, despite the chain problems, finishes fourth ahead of Sadler, Mario Gelli, Jacques Van Eden from Reed, O'Keefe and George Knight, the overall top 10 after a very intense 11 laps of racing. The first of two motor team races today. They start and end proceedings here at Ellough Park. And Riley, like we said, for Team Acme, there's not really much that they can do to exceed expectations this weekend. They're bang on where they need to be, maximising the points, and they've just got to keep that momentum up for the rest of the weekend.
Yep, exactly that. Just got to keep plugging away and making sure that there is no mistakes throughout the weekend to ensure there is no points lost. And that, I'm sure, is something Acme Racing will do just fine, especially if last year was anything to go by. You may have heard us say many a time about how many races Acme Racing took home on the top step last year, and looking to make that happen again this year with SFC not present. That's a real shame, to be honest, because I think here we could have seen a really, really good battle between those two. But maybe we've been treated to so many battles, the gods of racing decided we need a bit of a breather from Moto Team for now, because we've got some more racing coming your way. AC40 Pros will come the way of FAB-Racing here at Ellough Park. Their first race of the weekend, brought to you, of course, by 2 Clicks Out, the sponsor of the AC40 Pro class. The top level of the AC40 categories here in FAB-Racing, of course, mini motos. So we're going from the top to the bottom in the AC40s, from Pro to Inter, and then rookies as well. So mini motos on track at the moment as they get going for their warm-up. Only 4 riders out there this time, so that's a bit of a shame, but I'm sure we might be seeing a battle for the podium. One story that we know has been, well, quite prominent in this class is that Noah Barfoot has dominated quite commandingly, but the battles for the podium have not been too bad, have they?
No, not at all. By the way, the grid, albeit fairly small for the AC40 Pros, Finley Styles pole position by just over a second for the 19. Noah Barfoot, championship leader alongside him, James Dermott and Randy Carter, the 4 riders for this grid. And yeah, you're right, so far 9 races for the AC40 Pros. Noah Barfoot has won 8 of them. The one that he didn't win was race number 2 at Lid well, it was against Fair Velthausen, wasn't it? Of course, for Noah Barfoot. He finished P5 in that one, Fair Velthausen as a guest entry for that weekend, took 2nd, 1st and 6th. So Noah Barfoot, that was his only race that he didn't win. Of course, they'll be making their way around. They'll be doing some racing, of course, for this one. And let's see if Noah Barfoot can take victory for the opening weekend here at Ellough Park. Of course, with here... You yesterday, Riley, you took a little bit of a wander through the paddock. Of course, the AC40 Pros, they'll be making their way around on the grid. What we're going to do, though, is step aside and give you a bit of a tour of the FAB-Racing British Minibike paddock.
Hello and welcome to Ellough Park. You join us for round 4 of the FAB-Racing Mini Bike Championship, and the countdown to the Junior British Grand Prix continues with just 2 weeks left to go for one of the most historical events in mini bike history. You can just see out behind me, we are at the heart of the FAB-Racing paddock here at Ellough Park, and we're seeing some riders get out for the final few practice sessions. Right now out on track is Mini GP 50i. You'll be watching this on Saturday, where there's plenty of racing to come, brought to you by myself, Riley Davis, and Zach Sweeney. But right now, we're going to take you through a little paddock walk to, you know, have a look at all the things going on in FAB-Racing. It's been a while since we've done a paddock walk, as we see one of the O'Keefes coming along on their Moto Team bikes. Let's take a walk then, shall we, as we make our way down. We'll let them get all sorted out for now and get their gear off, because it's quite warm here at Ellough Park, but there's plenty of stories going on here at FAB-Racing as we head to Silverstone. While that's not a round that counts to championship points, it's certainly a round that counts to drama and excitement. I mean, some of these kids racing in front of their home crowd, which is going to be incredible. An incredible feeling as well, to race in place with so many of their heroes. Eddie O'Shea, someone who's come through FAB-Racing as well, who's going to be at the British Grand Prix and hopefully spectating alongside are racing on Friday and Saturday. But enough about Silverstone and more about Ellough Park. It's a very fast and flowing track, and it's going to make for some fantastic battles. So I'm hoping we can get a word in here with some of the riders and some of the stars of FAB-Racing, the stars of the future, of course. But at the moment, it seems to me like the paddock is a little bit dead. Quite a few people out in sessions. Emilio Pereira, his bike was just there. We passed him. The number 31, he is currently out in the Mini GP 50R session. We continue to look on. You can see some more bikes there, some Ovales and another Moto Team bike coming in. So yeah, not the most fortunate circumstances as we see. Here's someone to keep an eye on. Is second in the championship, Acme Racing on the green number 8 bike in Moto Team in the open class. That title fight is going to go right down to the wire between him, Marco Pandolfo on the Acme Racing machine, and Sam Klaus on the SFC bike. So make sure you're in there for that, because they're split by just 1 point going into this round, and they're not going to be at Silverstone, so their championship is building up to be a great finale. Despite the domination we've seen in Moto Team through this season so far, I think we're going to see a big battle between these two at this race, because there is many overtaking opportunities. But we'll continue to march our way down the paddock and get a word with someone. It really seems like everyone's gone to bed, to be honest. It is quite hot, so what we might find is quite a lot of people in caravans getting in front of the aircon. I can tell you that we certainly were getting behind the fan in the nice cool air, because it really is heating up here at Ellough Park, just as the drama and action is. As we're going to take a peek into this awning, and we join Team Acme Racing fighting for the title in the Moto Team class. You've got SFC as a rival at the moment, and that championship really going down to the wire, isn't it? So what do you make of that championship so far, and is this a track that you think you'll be able to take the fight to SFC?
Well, unfortunately, I think Team SFC are not here this weekend. But yeah, it would have been nice if Sam would have been here. It's a track that I like. I feel comfortable when riding. This bike feels amazing in those S's. So
yeah, I can imagine. It's a really fast-flowing track, isn't it? And on these bigger bikes, compared to the smaller bikes in the rest of the paddock, it can make for some much better racing compared to some of the other tracks that are quite hard braking. But nonetheless, despite Hooton Park being quite hard to overtake, you and Sam Klaus on the SFC bike, you brought us an amazing show. Let's just speak on that, because that was an amazing round, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a brilliant race, and Sam did it really well. It was a fight that went down literally to the wire, and we ended up on even points, and it was literally down to the 10th in 4 races. So it was an amazing weekend.
Yeah, it certainly was. Well, it was great to talk to you. Thank you very much for giving us your time, and good luck for the rest of the weekend, of course. Your title hopes still very much alive. I think it's just 1 point between you and SFC, and obviously, as you said, with SFC not here, that could bring a very big advantage to you in the championship. So, yeah, good luck, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Ciao.
Thank you. Well, it was brilliant to talk to the Acme team. As you can see, that beautiful green machine. Of course, these bikes 125s, it's the most accessible class as well as Moto Team. It's great to get out there and have some fun with your mates, of course. You can get multiple riders out there in one team. That's why we have 4 races a weekend for Moto Team. So it'd be a shame to see them not at Silverstone, but we are certainly not short of any Moto Team action. 4 races in one weekend makes for the longest calendar of all of the classes here at FAB-Racing. And we'll continue walking on down through the paddock, as you could just see there a lot of Moto Team riders coming back in. We were actually given a shout to Riley Paisley to come and talk to him. He is wildcarding in this one in the Extreme 200s on his pit bike, and that'll be really interesting to see, a 2-stroke pit bike getting out there. Last time we saw one of them was when Henry McCartney took one to Clay Pigeon and brought on an amazing podium battle between himself, Harrison Day, and many others like Tommy Keats getting in there on the Ovale. So Extreme 200 is another class where it's great to see the difference in machinery making for such incredible racing. And now we'll make our way over to this awning on the left. It really does seem like a lot of people have packed up and gone for an afternoon siesta, perhaps, but we'll wait and see to if we can get a word with Riley Paisley. As you can see there, number 17 pit bike. That's the one that he'll be out there on for this one. And Daisy Grayson's AC40 Inter machine there as well. The number 19, she had a monster crash at the previous round of Houghton Park, and she unfortunately broke her collarbone, but thankfully she's back and she's ready to go. She's done a few laps. I saw her on Instagram on her bike in another track, and she's ready and raring to go. She's really excited, and it's really good to see that confidence being there for her. So we hope that Daisy Grayson can fight for the title, as she so valiantly has been with Logan Paisley and Jensen Brown, so many other riders here. And it'll be great to see Riley Paisley out there in Extreme 200. But with great timing, do you guys fancy a word to join us? Max Keats joining us here at Ellough Park. It's getting a bit warm, but you've had a pretty decent run around at the moment, been challenging for a good few top fives and more than that as well. So you've been really delivering some battles, that's for sure. The mid-pack has been very interesting to see.
Yeah, it's been good this season already. We're just trying to get at least top 5 for now, and then maybe a bit more later on into the season we can start going for podiums.
Yeah, that's the goal ultimately, podiums all the time, and at the moment you're doing a really good job, a consistent job as well, so not too many mistakes either. So I think you're having a really good start to the season. Will you be at Silverstone, and on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you?
Yeah, we will be, and I'll be like 5. Like, yeah, it'll be good to like see, because it's more bigger tracks and we get more like time on the track as well.
Yeah, of course, they'll be having the test on Monday as well, so that'll be good for you guys to learn the track. It's a really fast track as well, so a lot of people looking forward to it, like myself commentating on it. I think it's going to be really interesting, but going back to Ellough Park, is this your favourite track, or is there another one that is on the calendar that takes your pick as the best?
It's my second favourite track. My favourite is Clay Pigeon, because I feel like it's got like, you know, like good overtaking positions as well, but same as here.
Yeah, 100%.
Welcome back then to Ellough Park for round number 4 of the FAB-Racing British Minibike Championship, brought to you by Mastermac Surfacing. Gearing ourselves up for the next race of the day with the AC40 Rookies Cup, brought to you by Grassroots to Grand Prix. And in the fight for the championship, Eros Garrett's consistency is giving him the measure over second place man Harry Burridge, who didn't join us at Lid but has since been on a dominant run of form, taking all 3 victories at Clay Pigeon and 2 of the victories back at Houghton Park. Eros Garrett, though, and his consistency, all that he needs to sit 26 points clear of the Rookies Cup Championship. From Tyler J. Windard, Bobby Baker, who will start this race from pole position, and Albie Miller, the top 5 in the championship, with a tie actually between Windward and Bobby Baker in the fight for third and in this championship. Nonetheless, Riley, looking good, of course, for this race. Rookies Cup, the youngest riders in the paddock, and once again, standout grid this weekend, brought to us, of course, by Grassroots to Grand Prix.
Yeah, 100%. Just like Moto Team, always a really packed grid. So great to see so many riders getting out there and enjoying their very first stages of mini bike racing. Start your kids' career here at FAB Racing and watch them grow through the ladder, as we've produced so many riders from Grassroots to Grand Prix and then to many other stages like that. World Championships, British Championships, and all forms of motorcycle racing have come from the FAB Racing paddock. And it all starts here in AC40 Rookies. And you were speaking earlier about Eros Garrett's consistency. That was the main headline, you have to say, last time out in the Rookies class at Houghton Park. But only one win to his name, and he has that championship lead because, obviously, as you said, Harry Burridge not at Lid, but Harry Burridge, if he's able to claw some really strong points out of Eros Garrett yet again this weekend, we could see him start to rise to that championship challenge.
Potentially so. Harry Burridge, like we say, in the 6 races that he's competed in, he's won 5 of them, and race number 2 at Houghton Park, he had an off on the opening lap, dropped all the way to the back of the grid, fought his way up all the way to 7th position by the end of it. So he missed out a potential 75 points lid and sits only 26 points back, as we've still got just over halfway of the season to go. So the championship battle between Ellough and Harry Burridge is absolutely on. Of course, we'll run you through the grid in just a few moments' time. In fact, actually, what I am not seeing is Harry Burridge's name. So we have picked that up for seemingly very little in that sense. Of course, we'll run you through the full grid in a moment, but what I can tell you is that Bobby Baker is on pole position for this race. He's taken 2 podiums thus far this season, and hasn't finished a race outside of the top 10. So from pole position for their 3 races this weekend, Bobby Baker could be looking very good to go for the overall victory for the first time in 26.
Yeah, let's hope for it, because he's done a really good job of challenging for podiums on multiple occasions, all the way back to his first round of appearance. And it's been a shame to not see him on the top step, to be fair, because he's been challenging for that victory quite predominantly in all of the races we've seen him in. So I think this time, if he gets out there and tries to get a gap, which we've seen happen quite a lot so far this season in AC40 rookies, he can definitely have a chance of breaking away as the battles ensue behind him, because big groups are quite easy to form when they're small bikes on a wide track, and so many of them.
Exactly that. What is 26 riders taking to the start of the Grassroots Grand Prix AC40 Rookies Cup here for FAB-Racing. The very first step was a long road, both through Grassroots and all the way up to the top of motorcycle racing. And, well, previous champions, by the way, the Rookies Cup, include the likes of Nelly Nuth, vice-champion back in 2024, Emilio Pereira, both of whom are racing in some of the top classes in FAB and, of course, getting themselves a lot of attention, of course, in UK media. We'll run you through the grid, though, as they're on their formation app. It's Bobby Baker, as we mentioned, on pole position, 4 tenths clear at the top from Vinny Glossop in P2. Championship leader Eros Garrett alongside Theodore Ford, the second row of the grid with Grayson Mills and Louis Elimelech in P6. Hudson Heaves alongside Tyler J. Winded in P8 with Freddie Fletcher and Harley Spiller completing the top 10. Albie Miller alongside Alfie Spedding. Then comes Jack Irwin and Savannah Polden keeping each other company on row 7. Behind that comes Oscar Bond, Imogen Vivas, Ellie Kellett from Arlo Simmons. Then comes Albert Gazlowski, Theo Tyler, your top 20 with Charlie Skingle, William Green, Roman Hartle, Bradley Bannister from Courtney Spiller and Ayrton Oakley, the 26th and final rider to take to the start of this one. Now, interestingly, Riley, second, third and fourth separated by less than 0.2 of a second. This could be a fiery start to the AC40 Rookies Cup.
Yeah, it certainly could be, and I think we'll see a lot of moves on the straights, that's for sure. These smaller bikes allow for a lot of slipstream, especially with how long the straight is. As they come to the grid now, for these small bikes, they basically have 2 straights, maybe even 3 here at Ellough Park. You have the one, of course, the start-finish straight. You have after turn 1. You have then at the end of that middle section, and then a 4th one as well before you get to the hairpin at the end of the lap. So that's going to make for where most of the overtaking opportunities will be for these AC40 rookies, to get in the slipstream and try and find themselves on the inside, the preferred line into the corner, rather than dive bombs on the brakes like we saw at Hooton.
Potentially so. We'll have to wait and see. People are going to have to get creative. Rookies Cup, it's basically like what you were saying, sometimes just last-ditch moves to the inside, last-minute chucks, and just getting the bike to the apex first, minimising the amount of braking you have to do, because around the circuit like Ellough Park, it's not very much. Grassroots to Grand Prix brings you the AC40 Rookies Cup. For round number 4 of the 2026 Championship, they will go racing. Bit of a jump start there, though, from the number 8 of Tyler J. Winded, though, eager to get going as they're 3 wide towards the opening corner. Around the outside into turn 1, that's Bobby Baker. Vinny Glossop, though, I think is the one that has the measure, got the jump, and will lead them towards turn number 2. Defensive in the fight for second as you desperately try and pick them apart. A army of 26 Rookies Cup riders forming their way through the opening sector here at Ellough Park. But for right now, it's the 64 Bobby Baker who's back into lead of the race and leading for the first time in 2026.
Yeah, trying to replicate, just as I said, to pull away, get the lead and find a gap, because this battle is going to keep building in this middle part of the lap, especially when some dive bombs get thrown and everyone runs wide. You can see there Eros Garrett, I think, is in 3rd place, trying to challenge this top 2 at the moment. Already you can see a gap forming as wide there goes Bobby Baker as they now head round to the final hairpin before they go right and into that fast corner before the start-finish straight. This is where overtakes can be made or overtakes can be conceded in this class. I formerly mentioned slipstream, very important for these little bikes, as we now see. I think that's Tyler J. Winded going up the inside of one of the riders, and now into the group to try and catch up to a few people ahead of them. And already we're seeing gaps forming, little duos, little trios in this race.
Exactly that. Bobby Baker leads the opening lap of the race. Looking very, very good indeed, but closely followed by Vinny Glossop. So we'll take our way through and keep an eye on a very close battle at the front end of the field. Just getting word that Race Control have noted a couple of jump starts, most notably from the number 8 of Tyler J. Windard. No action confirmed just yet. We'll keep you up to date as we make our way through this race. 3 riders, though, involved in the fight for the lead. That, of course, being Baker, Glossop, and down the inside for the championship leader, Eros Garrett. Fights for second. Switchback is on there, though, as they'll try and negotiate their way into the final corner. Nicely done from Eros Garrett. Ascend down the inside on the brakes. We still overtaken was hard. He made that one look effortless. On to what will be 6 laps left to go across the line. It's actually the 61 of Vinny Glossop that leads Eros Garrett. Now Bobby Baker from pole down to P3.
Yeah, that was an amazing manoeuvre from Eros Garrett to find himself in second place and back in contention for the race lead, trailing Vinny Glossop at this point in time, looking for a second win of the season and looking really aggressive on these opening laps as he prepares to line up a move onto, as I said, what is essentially their 3rd straight here in the AC40 rookie class. He goes to the inside to defend, but finds on the outside Bobby Baker trying to find a way through, but that in turn puts him on the wrong line for the next corner, and back through goes Eros Garrett. So great defence there and great forward thinking from Eros Garrett to maintain that second position, but he might be under attack here at the corner where he made the move on Bobby Baker, but can't quite find a way through from Bobby Baker at this point in time, and it looks like Vinny Glossop under some pressure with 6 laps to go. Can he get into the slipstream and make the move down into turn 1?
Vinny Glossop, by the way, a brand new rider, it seems, here at Ellough Park. Best result of the season before today was P10 back at the opening race of the season. Down the inside, though, Eros Garrett searching for his second victory of the season, and you can see they're flying in formation towards turn number 2. 3 riders all in contention of this, but Eros Garrett the one to get the measure. Down the inside, Bobby Baker will try it on Vinny Glossop as well through turn number 2, the second apex of that long sweeping right-hander, but for now it's Glossop that sits in second. Look at Eros Garrett, though, trying to get away, like I say, searching for his second race victory of the season. For Vinny Glossop, it would have been a, well, heroic maiden victory of the season, because like I say, hasn't finished inside the top 10 since the very first race of the season, and right now fighting for the potential race lead, at the very least a podium.
Yeah, and that's why we might just see a little bit of an advantage in the later stage of the race for Eros Garrett and Bobby Baker, who are more used to fighting up at the front end. As in turn there, perfect example in that corner. Unfortunately, at the hairpin, we see Vinny Glossop running slightly wide and allowing Bobby Baker to get all the closer. Eros Garrett hasn't pulled out as big of a gap as we thought he would have in that second half of the lap. I think he's just taking it easy for these next 4 laps. We did say earlier how the confidence will build as the weekend will go on, and confidence is really the thing that they develop the most here in AC40 rookies, but now that gap will look to be stretched out, and now Vinny Glossop possibly focusing on defending that P2 from Bobby Baker.
Maybe so. Nonetheless, I mean, P2, P3, either way, it's your maiden podium of the season for Vinny Glossop, who just to put it into perspective, 17th, 16th and 14th, so has only managed to score 16 championship points so far this season. With P2, he would double that in a single race. Bobby Baker, though, trying to make that not the case and looking for second position from what was a pole position start for Bobby Baker. Down the inside through what is the penultimate hairpin, tries to get the measure, but Vinny Glossop around the outside keeps the advantage. Eros Garrett still within touching distance, though, for these 2 riders. If they get caught up battling, they could miss an opportunity for the lead. Bobby Baker ducking underneath on the start-finish straight, but defensive there. Vinny Glossop towards the opening corner. It's going to be the long way around for the 64, who tries it, but in the end gets muscled wide by the 61.
Yeah, that's exactly the way to go through at turn 1. Get in the slipstream, force the other rider out of your way and push them onto the wider line. But with how wide this track is, there is plenty of opportunities to make moves without losing too much time. And when you get into a battle, especially on these little bikes, especially for these younger riders, they're going to get more and more aggressive. They're going to push harder to try and escape the rider behind them or catch the rider in front of them, and that's exactly what we're seeing now. That little battle of Bobby Baker has woken up Vinny Glossop and made him realise that his first victory, let alone his first podium, is still on the cards here at Ellough Park, and he looks to kick off this weekend with the highest points available. Can he challenge Eros Garrett with 2 and a bit laps to go? He continues to run wide there, but responds with a tight line and a defensive line but it might have ended up putting Bobby Baker back in his slipstream. But more lap traffic coming the way of Eros Garrett. Can we see a 3-rider duel now for victory on the penultimate lap?
Pick him out as Eros Garrett diets his way through the traffic, up and underneath them as well. Bobby Baker still in contention, so the all-black 84, followed by the black and yellow 64 of Bobby Baker. Then, of course, comes the red and white number 61 of Vinny Glossop. So P1, P2, P3 separated by virtually nothing, still darting their way through traffic. A lap and a half left to go. Eros Garrett under pressure here, and this could go any which way still, with just over a mile of racing remaining.
Yep, just over a mile and plenty of overtaking opportunities as we now make our way over that small hump before we get to the next of quite a few hairpins here at Ellough Park and switch back quickly to the left and down the straight. Bobby Baker struggling to stay with Eros Garrett. The confidence returning for Eros Garrett in this later stages as the pressure continues to develop. It seems to me like Eros Garrett seems to perform better when there's someone right up behind him or right in front of him. He pushes on harder to make sure that win happens. As we now get to the last lap, can Bobby Baker make this a showdown for the ages in AC40 rookies? Will this be a rivalry that progresses on through the season or even through their careers as they now go right on what is such a long corner on these small bikes? As Bobby Baker tries to make the move up the inside, can't quite find a way through. Plenty more opportunities just like this one where he thinks about it again. He's running out of time. Is there still a move available for him to get to the lead? I don't know if Vinny Glossop's still in contention for this. We'll have to wait and see.
Nah, not a chance really down the inside though. Look at that, Bobby Baker keeping the throttle twisted to the inside of the right hand, and very difficult to make a move there. Eros Garrett keeping his composure, looking to extend the gap at the top of the championship with his second victory and 9th podium of the season. For Bobby Baker though, from pole position, there is still an opportunity. Some lap riders to negotiate a Hail Mary potentially for the 64, but going to get caught there on the apex. Bit of contact. Eros Garrett driving into the front end there of one of the lap riders, now riding his way towards the checkered flag. He spots it, he takes victory. It's Eros Garrett with the race win in the AC40 Rookies Cup, brought to you by Grassroots to Grand Prix. Bobby Baker, a valiant effort, but ultimately not to beat. And Vinny Glossop, a monumental first podium of the season. A string of non-points finishes for the 61. And well, that's all worth it now with P3, race 1 at Ellough Park for Vinny Glossop. Mills and Ford, the top 5. But what a battle that was between Eros Garrett, Bobby Baker. Bit of drama as we saw there. Eros Garrett with some contact to one of the lap riders, luckily getting away with it and still having the measure that he needed on that run to the line.
Yeah, my oh my, that got very, very close between those two at the end of the race, but thankfully Eros Garrett was able to hold on and claim his second win of the season here in the AC40 Rookies class. And Vinny Glossop, as you mentioned, doing a great job to get his first podium of the season. And the fact that he led most of that race is going to give him so much confidence for the rest of the weekend and for the rest of the season. What an epic battle that was between that trio. And now Vinny Glossop, with that experience and confidence of leading the race and battling for it, is going to be all the stronger for the rest of the weekend. Make sure you keep your eyes peeled on this class because it won't disappoint.
No, not in the slightest. And, well, Rookies Cup, Ellough Park, we've had some historical races at this venue in that class in times previous, and I'm sure this weekend absolutely no different. For the Rookies Cup, of course, that's going to be the end of their action today, but they're out for race 2 and race 3 tomorrow, so make sure you do not miss it for some more historical battles between the likes of Eros Garrett, Bobby Baker and Vinny Glossop, the stars of the future, on their very first step to the top.
And now we move to the final AC40 class in FAB-Racing, the AC40 Interclass, sponsored by LS2 helmets. Now this one, Zach, has been cinematic across the season. So many moments of drama, so many amazing overtakes, and so many contenders as well. Jensen Brown, you think back to Liddon, how fast he was, taking, I believe, all 3 wins in that weekend, and then hasn't returned to the top step since. But in his place, Austin Baton came along, dominated so many races, but then he found Albie Stone for company, Logan Paisley, Daisy Grayson, and despite her crash, she's got a story to tell. In only 4 weeks after breaking her collarbone, returns and wants to continue that championship fight. We've got so many names in this, and we're promised an amazing battle, not just for now, but for the rest of the season.
In terms of the championship, is Austin Baton with 4 of the 9 victories and 7 podiums to his name at the top of the championship, 31 points clear of Logan Paisley, who off the back of 2 third places at Houghton Park, followed by a 7th place in race number 3. Jensen Brown, monumental at Lid, since has not returned to the podium though across Clay Pigeon and Houghton Park, sits 3rd in the championship from Daisy Grayson and Albie Stone, who joined us back at Clay Pigeon after dominating the Rookies Cup at Lid, taking 2 of the 3 victories and all 3 podiums back at Houghton Park. Will be looking to hit the ground running. They make their way onto the grid just ahead of their formation lap, and then we'll run you through the full grid order. All 12 riders for the LS2 Helmets AC40 Interclass here for the 4th round of the 2026 FAB-Racing British Minibike Championship. Well, let's find out. You said it was quite cinematic. Let's see what Hollywood has got in store for us here for the Inters.
Yeah, certainly. I can't wait to see how this race plays out, because Albie Stone, we spoke to him in that paddock walk, which you'll get to see more of in due time, and you'll get to see me talk to Albie Stone and Daisy Grayson, 2 prominent players in this championship fight, so don't miss that. That will be coming tomorrow at some point, be in the lunch break or before the programme. We'll have to wait and see, but yeah, he is very, very confident, as you can expect. 2 wins last time out at Houghton Park, only his 2nd round that was of AC40 Inters, after a dominant performance at Lid in the Rookies, warranted him a progression into AC40 Inters, and now at this stage of the championship is 67 points off the championship lead, and he is really confident that he can easily close that gap, is what he said to me. He has plenty of confidence in him, and hopefully that means we're going to see a great battle between him, Austin Baton, and the many other contenders in this title fight.
Well, let's run you through the grid then, shall we, for what is, we're promising to be a very good race in the AC40 Interclass. The 25 of Logan Paisley will start from pole position alongside Albie Stone. The 2 of them separated by, get this, 25 thousandths of a second. A 56.317 for Paisley, a 56.342 for Albie Stone. Incredibly tight. Austin Baton, Harry Burridge, the top 2. That's where Harry Burridge is. He's gone up to the Inters. Jensen Brown alongside Oakley Hipple on row 3. Grayson, Dorrington, Carter, Reeson, Cook and Bailey, the 12th and final rider to take to the start of the LS2 Helmets AC40 Inter category. The first of their 3 races this weekend. There'll be eyes to the lights in just a couple of moments' time. Who's going to get the measure here in Ellough? Lights come on. Lights go off. We go racing. Good start there from the 25 of Logan Paisley. He'll lead towards the opening corner, but look out for the 100 of Austin Baton, sweeping around the outside of Albie Stone there to take 2nd position as they now make their way towards the long sweeping right-hander at turn 2. Logan Paisley seemingly defending thin air towards the 2nd corner, but comfortably still in the race lead towards the hairpin.
What a perfect start for Logan Paisley, who got away fantastically, found a gap between himself and Austin Baton to allow some battling to start behind him between Albie Stone and Austin Baton, which we just mentioned before the race started. And already this trio starting to break away and make a gap. Could we see yet another 3-rider race for the victory after we saw such a spectacle in AC40 Rookies? The Mini Moto certainly not disappointing for this race and the previous one we just had here at Ellough Park, and let's hope it continues for the rest of the weekend. Of course, LS2 Helmets sponsoring this category, but LS2 helmet worn by Albie Stone, the bright blue one, unmissable there in 3rd place, trying to challenge for this victory, dropping a little bit off this duo of Logan Paisley and Austin Baton, but learning this track and waiting for a moment to go through, because you're not going to win the race on lap 2, but you can certainly win it in the final few stages if Austin Baton and Logan Paisley continue to battle.
Yeah, Albie Stone really impressive in his step up into the Inter category. Slightly faster bike, of course the same bike in of itself, but less of an exhaust restrictor, so they have a little bit more power out there on circuit. The riding style virtually the same though, and transferable from the Rookies to the Inters to the pros. Harry Burridge, who, like we say, we didn't see in the Rookies Cup, currently runs P5 in his first weekend in the Inter category. Albie Stone, who dominated back in the Rookies Cup at Lid, has since been on a championship charge to get himself back into contention in the Inter class, and currently sits 3rd place in this race with an opportunity maybe to go and win it. 7 laps left to go in this race. It's Paisley from Baton. Stone trying to put some pressure on. Then comes Hipwell, Burridge and Brown, the three-rider field behind that. Dorrington side by side with Daisy Grayson just 4 weeks after her monumental crash back at Hooton Park. Still fighting, raring, ready to go. Side by side, Daisy Grayson to the inside of T2.
Yeah, trying to find the way through, but that's one thing that we saw a lot, is that she was spending a lot of time finding ways through, and there we go. She's done the homework and handed it in with a brilliant move up the inside of Lawson Dorrington, as she now goes into 7th place to try and catch that group ahead and get into the top 6. We weren't expecting really a challenge for the win from Daisy Grayson, just plainly off the fact that she, of course, broke her collarbone 4 weeks ago. Not even, professional motorcycle racers come back that early in some cases. And, of course, they still struggle with the injury still healing and not being on a bike for most of that time. So Daisy Grayson just taking a bit more time to heal and might see a progression of performance as the weekend goes along. But nonetheless, doing a great job there, making her way up into 7th with 5 laps to go.
Yeah, it can knock your confidence as well. And the fall that she had, it wasn't just a case of slipping the front. She went up and over. So, yeah, inspirational, really, for Daisy Grayson, and still to be fighting inside the top 10. Meanwhile, at the front, by the way, it's Logan Paisley that still leads Austin Baton from Albie Stone. No change in and amongst the top 3 with 5.5 laps left to go. There they are. The all-green machine, Logan Paisley, brother, of course, of Smiley Riley, who we see out this weekend. Austin Baton, the all-black number 100. Then comes the very bright blue of Albie Stone, the 25 from the 100. From the 16, P1, P2 and P3. Logan Paisley won the opening round back at Lid since yet to take back to the top step. He's taken a string of podiums, 7 over the course of the season, but only 1 victory, and he's vying to double that count at the end of this race. 5 laps left to go, and they'll fly towards turn number 1. Logan Paisley, though, you can tell, feeling the pressure. Austin Baton nowhere near his rear fender. However, Logan Paisley still feeling the need to cover the inside.
Yeah, a lot of movement there on the apex as well for Logan Paisley. He struggled to carry the speed through turn 1. That's certainly an issue that doesn't seem to pop up around Ellough Park, but when you take the defensive lines, things like that can happen. And Austin Baton trying to pile on that pressure to Logan Paisley. But if there's anything we know about Logan Paisley, especially in this AC40 Interclass, is that he has been so difficult to overtake. And when he has an older brother who's so experienced in these AC40 classes as well, it's the perfect advice to teach your younger brother how to race in these situations. And that's, I think, what we're seeing, the knowledge being passed on to Logan Paisley rather than it being learned and developed the hard way, which you would say in some cases is how most riders find out and learn. But right now, will Austin Baton be able to take advantage of these defensive lines and find a way through? This time he goes for the wide line and tries to get the run onto the second straight here at Ellough Park, going for the outside line yet again to see if he can cut under. Still no move available, but perhaps waiting for the later laps to make a lunge.
Maybe so. Austin Baton, championship leader. Let's not forget, he has taken 4 victories this season, would like to make it 5. Albie Stone as well, charging towards the front in the championship. Despite missing at Lid, he still has opportunity to come out on top with just over half the season remaining. And 3.5 laps left to go in this race. Albie Stone, what a move to the inside of the back end chicane. What a dive there from the 16 of Albie Stone. Caught Austin Baton napping, spotted the gap on the inside, was committed on the brakes, misses the apex through the penultimate hairpin, but, well, absolutely inconsequential there. Albie Stone, what a move to get that one signed, sealed and delivered. It's given Logan Paisley a little bit of a reprieve, though, as he sits a good few bike lengths clear now of these two who are squabbling for second down the inside, but to no avail for Austin Baton. Albie Stone, move of the weekend thus far.
100%. That was so aggressive from Albie Stone. He was so brave there on the inside to force his way through. Took Austin Baton by surprise and has certainly ruined his rhythm. And it's these final stages. I said this a few laps ago. Albie Stone just working his way into the weekend to try and find how he can contend for that race victory. Learning this track on the AC40 Inter bike and trying his best to figure out the best way to race and to win here at Ellough Park. And he's certainly figuring it out quite quickly as he made that amazing dive bomb, one that you'd think would be of years of experience for Albie Stone, but no, he is a rookie in the AC40 Interclass and was a rookie, of course, in the AC40 Interclass before AC40 Rookies class before that at the start of the season. So proving his worth here in the Interclass as he now tries to challenge for the win. Logan Paisley was able to fend off Austin Baton, but now will we see him defend from the ever aggressive Albie Stone, who will make his move and make it happen as soon as he can.
all over the rear wheel through turn number 2 for Albie Stone, teeing up the move. Logan Paisley was lucky to get a couple of laps just to breathe and not have to defend too much, but you can tell the pressure building for Paisley, who has got the weight of his second victory of the season on his shoulders, and with a 31-point deficit to close to Austin Baton, he'll get about 10 of those back if he's able to hang on from Albie Stone. But anything can happen with a lap left to go at the line. Inside line maybe for Logan Paisley. He defends into the penultimate corner. Albie Stone tries to get the up, tries to get the under. Definitely going to give it a go. 1.1 kilometres left to negotiate for race number 1 of the Interclass, brought to you by LS2 Helmets. It's a nice run off the final corner there for Logan Paisley as they start the final lap of the race.
A final lap of strategy here in the AC40 Interclass. What can Albie Stone do to try and figure out how he can make his way through on Logan Paisley, who has been the story of defence in FAB Racing at the moment? I don't think I've seen that many people overtake him so far this season, especially not at Hooton Park, where he was so strong. But at the moment, no. Albie Stone closes a sizable advantage in on Logan Paisley in the first half of the lap. Can he convert that into a race-winning move? I don't quite think so. He takes the wider line as the parents go wild, cheering on their kids to take victory in the AC40 Interclass. Can Logan Paisley keep that defensive line and make it work to the line? Albie Stone is going to try and get the exit and find his way through, but I don't think it's going to be enough, because Logan Paisley is going to make his way around the final corner to take a second win of the season in the AC40 Interclass. But ever improving is Albie Stone, who takes second place and will improve as the weekend goes along.
What a ride there from Logan Paisley. Under pressure for all 9 laps. Kept his composure all the way through each of those 9 laps. Albie Stone, though, you have to say, gave it his all. A desperate move to the inside of Austin Baton paid off. Ultimately did not get the opportunity to contend for the lead. For both Paisley and for Stone, it's crucial points in the championship, chipping away at Austin Baton, who brings home his 8th podium of the season from the, well, thus far, 10 races they've competed in. Austin Baton, you have to say, he's got a championship to defend. He's not going to take too many risks, because I'd rather consolidate P3 than fall off and potentially lose a hell of a lot more points than that. But for Logan Paisley, it's a crucial start back in the championship, and from pole position did exactly what he expected to go and do. And, well, a nice victory, and once again a very nice race at Ellough Park, giving us the action here, even on the smaller bikes, which we predicted were going to be a little bit more processional. Not the case at all across the rookies and the Inters.
Yeah, of course, it was so good to see such aggressive podium battles. It was perfectly structured, that race, from Logan Paisley. Okay, we didn't see him move for the lead, but he did that so well, where he kept them honest, he kept them thinking that they had a chance, but just pulled out enough of a gap to stop a move from being made at any point in time. So the pressure wasn't as much on him, because he didn't have a big lead. He wasn't setting fastest lap after fastest lap. He just rode his race perfectly, and that's why it looked like Albie Stone and Austin Baton behind him had so much more pace. But it's just because Logan Paisley, had so much pace that he didn't need to push that hard. He was just doing his own thing, and eventually that got him to the race victory. A really good performance from him.
Indeed so. Well, for the AC40 Interclass, brought to you by LS2 Helmets for their Saturday action, that is going to be it. But do not miss them tomorrow for race 2 and race 3 as we head into the second half of 2026.
And now we move on to the Mini GP50R class. As we move to bigger bikes here in FAB Racing, you call this really the middle stage of the young riders' careers. This is the mixed class. Don't get it confused with the GP50 class, which is solely the Metrokit 50. This is the Metrokit GP50s, the 2 strokes, versus the Ovales. These tend to be 144 strokes. These make for some amazing racing. And recently, we've seen the Ovales make the most dominant performances, but I think with this more flowy track, we can see the 2 strokes stay longer above the power band, because there's not as many tight corners. It can make for a big advantage on the corner speed as well. But down into that hairpin, the Ovales, they'll be sending as much dives as they can.
In terms of the championship, though, by the way, Emilio Pereira leading it, 158 points to his name. Mason Frederick, though, despite missing lid, has won, 5 of the 6 races he's competed in. He's not finished outside of the top 2 and sits just 13 points behind Emilio Pereira, who retired the final race at Hooton Park. He was back on the bike, I think the weekend after Hooton Park, set it was a lap record and a PB, actually, for Emilio Pereira. So constantly grafting, constantly finding pace, getting an excuse to be on the bike, learning with every single round that he goes to. And that's the mindset that you need to go all the way to the top. So I'm sure he's going to be raring to go here at Ellough Park. But yeah, with Mason Frederick, a rider as good as him directly on his tail. Of course, Bo Morris completes the top 3 with 2 podiums to his name. Jensen Ansel as well. A win, a second, and a retirement at Hooton Park. At the very least, he did get the win and will be looking to climb his way up from 4th place in the championship. Tommy Williams, the top 5 in the Mini GP 50R category. Let us know who you're supporting, though. If you are now just joining us, a big hello and welcome. You join us here down in Suffolk for Ellough Park Raceway for round number 4 of the FAB-Racing British Minibike Championship in 2026. Let us know who you're cheering on for, where you're watching from, and what you're most looking forward to over the course of the weekend. Will we see you at the Junior GP event at Silverstone at the beginning of August? Let us know if you are coming along, of course, to Kart Silverstone. They'll roll their way on to the grid, then they'll get their formation lap, and then we go racing for the Mini GP 50R category. For Emilio Pereira, he had an off, let's not forget, in qualifying. He needs to rebuild that confidence and find that rhythm to go for victory once again.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, though, one thing we've learned this season, of anything in the whole of the FAB-Racing paddock, is that the confidence after a tip-off for Emilio Pereira does not take very long to build back up. I reckon that confidence is already back. He's done 2 corners of the sighting lap, and that's it. There we go. It's back. Because Emilio Pereira has been so impressive this season. In both classes he races in. He's been flying the flag for the Metrokit bikes in the 50R class. Despite the dominance of the 4-strokes, he's been able to be up there in the podium fights. And of course, no story needs to be told of the GP50 class if you've seen it, because it is just incredible. And make sure you tune in for that one later on and for tomorrow. But for now, we've got 50Rs coming your way. Let's see if the Metrokits can take it to the Ovales and make a good battle here at Ellough Park.
Big shout out, of course, to Tony the Marshal that, travels around with the FAB-Racing circus each and every single round. Big thank you, of course, to all of the FAB-Racing staff, and logistically, a very difficult thing to do, and grateful to their efforts and, of course, their services to young riders over the last, over a decade. In fact, let's run you through the grid, though, ahead of the first race of the weekend for the Mini GP 50R category. It's Mason Frederick, championship contender, alongside championship leader of Emilio Pereira on the front row of the grid, separated by just over a tenth between the two of them. Jensen Ansel alongside Jensen Knowles on row 2, then comes Bo Morris and Freddie Taylor on row 3. Matthew Jennings from Tommy Williams on row 4, Jensen Cedras and Joey Athasich complete the 10, with Reed Taxaby and Daniel Tanton on row 6. Austin Dilks, brother to Wilson, starts 13th alongside Nelly Nuth down in 14th position. Oliver Wilson, Claudia Dudman, Emerson Oakley and Danny Longhurst your top 18, with Rex Almond and Oliver Cheeseman, a very tasty final row of the field, 19th and 20th, as they'll get going from the back row of the grid for the Mini GP 50R category. Frederick and Pereira front row, though, Riley. That's all the ingredients of a very, very spicy race indeed. Oh, certainly. Mason Frederick has been fantastic the last couple of rounds. He's been so dominant on that ovale of his. Wasn't present at Lid, which allowed the 2 strokes to be really competitive and score so many points at the start of the season. That's why we're seeing Mason Frederick 13 points off Emilio Pereira in the championship standings. But will that change this time round? Here at Ellough Park, can the championship gap extend for Emilio Pereira, or will it close for Mason Frederick? 4-stroke versus 2-stroke, the battle of the ages in motorcycle racing. We've seen it so many times, and now we see it in the modern day at Ellough Park. Who takes victory in the Mini GP 50R class? As we wait for the lights to go on, a spectacle is awaiting us as they head down to turn 1 in a few moments' time. Mason Frederick lines up on pole, Emilio Pereira in second. As you said, Zach, that is going to get very interesting. And now we get ready to get going. They're revving up the bikes, the 2 strokes, trying to overcome the 4 strokes on revs, but it's not going to be enough as the 4 strokes get away in the 50R class with an incredible start, as to be expected. The grunt taking advantage of the 2 strokes aggressiveness on the throttle, but now will Emilio Pereira be able to fix that issue and
close back in on the fight for victory. Mason Frederick gets away really well in the lead, and behind him Jensen Ansel, who he's battled with so hard in previous races, especially back at Hooton Park, and already that aggression returning to the floor as we're seeing amazing moves being pulled off as Jensen Ansel makes his way to the lead with an aggressive move, a statement from the number 22, who looks to set right his DNF from the final race at Hooton Park. Let's see if he can take it all the way to the flag, or we have a battle between these two.
Yeah, of course, the two strokes getting away off the line very, very nicely indeed. That initial talk that they've got, and, well, freight training Emilia Pereira down to 4th position. What a move that was, though, from Jensen Ansel to the left-hander. A very fast sequence at Ellough Park, through the left, through the right, over the crest and into the chicane. Very risky to go for a dive there, but he's made it work. Mason Frederick now drops to 2nd. Of course, has got a championship burden on his shoulders and knows that he needs to maximise the points at every single round. But with Emilia Pereira down in 4th position, in fact, even lower than that, I think it's just a bit of a timing error. He is running 4th place on the road, just in behind Jensen Knowles in 3rd. But for, of course, Frederick, he's going to want to maximise his points advantage and could actually take the lead in the championship at the end of this race. 10 laps left to go. Emilia Pereira on the rear end of Knowles. Meanwhile, Frederick on the back end of Ansel. Two of our championship rivals, in fact, both of our championship rivals, having to contend with their own respective Jensen. One of them, though, for the race lead, the 22 across the line with 9 laps left to go. Mason Frederick down the inside to try and take the lead, but to no avail on that occasion.
Wow, that was a brave manoeuvre for Mason Frederick. Couldn't quite pull it off just yet, but there are so many opportunities for him left as we still have 9 laps to go, and unfortunately opportunities running out of a good result from Bo Morris. What a shame for him as his metric it goes down at the first corner. He's been having such a consistent season here, especially in the 50R class, and his battles with Tommy Williams as well. But here we go, the battle for the lead though turns into a leading situation for Mason Frederick, who sends the move to the inside, replicating what we saw from Albie Stone in the AC40 Inter race, and takes the lead with 9 laps left. Can he pull away and make a gap like he has in previous races, or can Jensen Ansel respond with what he's learnt with at Hooton Park? And it's great to see Jensen Knowles back as well. First time we've seen him since Lid, and if you were watching Lid, you'll remember the incredible save he had coming out of the first chicane at the start of the lap. It was truly sensational. Let's hope this time round he doesn't have as much scary moments as that, because yeah, that was incredible for him to save that, and you don't quite get that many lucky moments to save across a season. But at the moment, Emilia Pereira trying his best to close that gap, but Jensen Knowles, that 4-stroke ovale, seeming to just have the advantage on those tighter corners and pulling away from the number 31.
Yeah, Emilia Pereira all over his rear wheel through the penultimate hairpin. Of course, 7 laps to go at the line. In fact, 8 laps left to go. I think Frederick and Ansel that far in front of these two. Already ticked it off to 7 left to go. Of course, if you have got an Ovale and you want to join us for the Junior GP event at Silverstone, entries are going thick and fast. So join us on the grid at what will be a historic event for mini bike racing on the biggest stage you could ask for these young, talented riders. Mason Frederick leads Jensen Ansel by 0.2 of a second. Following the battle for the podium, though, championship leader Emilia Pereira. Well, for how much longer will the 31 stay in control of the 50R category? Of course, a Metricate fighting with the Ovales at the front end of the field. It's an uphill battle at certain circuits for Emilia Pereira, but right now he's still in contention for that overall podium. Inside line potentially towards the penultimate hairpin, but not quite close enough as we tick our way into 6 laps left to go at the line.
Yeah, he'll be looking to try and get the run as we see him setting up there, the wide line to cut back onto the straight and get a run down to turn 1 and see if he can make a move, because defensive is Jensen Knowles into turn 1, and now Emilia Pereira is going to go wider to give him more time to get on the power and maybe through into this next corner. Can't quite find the way through yet. It's not an easy place to overtake, especially since it's such a long corner. It's quite easy to run out wide and find your rival back up the inside. So Emilia Pereira showing how knowledgeable he is with his racecraft, as it looks like Jensen Knowles under a lot of pressure, looking back many times in the last 2 laps just to make sure that Emilia Pereira is still there or not. And if he keeps looking back, he might actually look back and find Emilia Pereira up the inside. That's certainly something that he will know based on their amazing battles we saw back at Lid.
Well, the race is in front of you, though, so you don't want to focus too much on what's going on behind you. Have an awareness. Of course, they don't have mirrors on these bikes, so they do have to occasionally look over their shoulder, but the more you're focusing on what's behind you, the less you're focusing on actually riding, hitting your braking marker, hitting your apexes, and ultimately, the faster you ride, the less of a threat that Emilio Pereira is going to be. So that needs to be the focus for Jensen Knowles. He cannot allow the championship leader to get into his head, although you can forgive him maybe for a lapse in that regard through the first hairpin here at Ellough Park, and using some of the curb, but not too much of it. Very bumpy the further out you go. Then through the long, sweeping left-hander, set yourself up to that flick to the right, up over the crest, sit the bike up and get it stopped in what is a very sketchy braking zone into the hairpin. Down, though, that's Jensen Ansel. That's the 22. He's down at the penultimate corner there. His race is over. Mason Frederick will walk away with this one. Marshall's quick to the scene. You can see he's okay. He's up on his 2 feet, limping away, but largely okay for Jensen Ansel. Always good to see, of course. Meanwhile, though, Mason Frederick will have an easy ride to the checker flag, then up in front as long as he can keep it on the tarmac. And the fight for the podium, well, now, not really much of a fight for the podium. It's a fight for second place between Jensen Knowles and Emilio Pereira.
Oh, what a shame for Jensen Ansel. He was doing such a good job to force the pressure onto Mason Frederick. He put on some fantastic moves, defended really well in those opening laps before he was overtaken, and to be fair, could have stuck with Mason Frederick and continued on the challenge, but unfortunately, once again, like he did at the end of Hooton Park, pushing just a little bit too hard to close that gap. But that's just the experience that will progress over the weekend, and hopefully he can learn from that, come back tomorrow in either race 2 or 3 and bring us the battle that we know is possible between those two. But right now, we have a battle on our hands, as you said, Zach, for second place now, upgraded by 1 position because of that crash for Jensen Ansel. It now becomes the second best on the grid at the end of this race. Now 3 laps to go. Emilio Pereira has been sat there waiting for so long. How many times have we seen this where Emilio Pereira has waited and waited for his chance and then sprung at the last possible opportunity to leave? No response possible.
Into the final sector, 2 laps left to go at the line. Emilio Pereira has been analysing his opponent. Again, he's a rider that will put the work in. Both at school was commended, actually, Emilio Pereira by his school for his efforts, both in racing and academia. So he knows how to put the graft in, he knows how to analyse his opponent, he knows where and when to strike, and that's why he's so successful. But so far, Jensen Knowles, well, clearly knows what he's doing at the front end of this fight. 2 laps left to go. Mason Frederick clear of this battle, but the closest one on circuit, and a very consequential one indeed. Emilio Pereira needs to mitigate the damage with Mason Frederick looking so strong this weekend. Second place is the bare minimum for Emilio Pereira to stay in the fight for the championship heading into the second half of the season. But Jensen Knowles, he's got the measure. Quick look over the shoulder, once again covering off the 31 of Emilio Pereira.
Just a lap and a half to go for Emilio Pereira to make it work, and he's really running out of time. He has to set up the exit coming out of this chicane here and try and make the move on Jensen Knowles in front of him. I don't know if it's possible for Emilio Pereira because Jensen Knowles is doing so well to defend this position. But right now, we're looking back for, I think, the battle for 13th. A few riders there getting into a little group as they fight on the last lap. But here we look at the battle continuing for second, and now back to the race leader, Mason Frederick, who once again has pulled out such a huge gap.
He's looking so strong and, well, can take his time through the lap traffic. Unbelievably quick is Mason Frederick. He didn't join the 50R category for Lid. He did, the race on the Saturday, and then on the Sunday went off to Spain for a round in Europe. Since on his return, he's won 5 of the 6 races. The only one he's missed out on, race 1 back at Hooton Park. It's been a incredible ride for Mason Frederick. He's got 1 corner left to go to potentially take a step towards the championship lead.
And here he comes then around the final corner to make it happen. Plenty of people in front of him, but none on the timesheets. He takes the race win in the first race for the GP50R category here at Ellough Park. The confidence will go on to the next race tomorrow, but how close was that finish? Emilio Pereira, we just said how he likes to wait to the last possible moment to take second place, and he couldn't have left it any later than that. Getting the run to the line on Jensen Knowles, truly sensational from Emilio Pereira, flying the flag for Metrokits. becoming the top two-stroke there in second as he got that two-stroke power riled up out of the hairpin, round the fast right-hander, and then to the line to beat Jensen Knowles. How incredible was that?
That was indeed. Emilia Pereira knows how to make the difference. Jensen Knowles, though, defending very, very well indeed. A 6.7 winning margin for Mason Fedrick as he's at the top there and takes a step closer towards taking the championship lead. The gap comes down to just 8 points between Mason Fedrick and Emilia Pereira. Jensen Knowles, the top three from Taylor Jennings. Then comes Joey Apisic from Jensen Cedras, Tommy Williams, Reed Saxby, and Nelly Nuth from 14th into the top 10. She'll score herself some good championship points for her efforts. Big moment, though, for Jensen Ansel, the 22, a big off for him in the pursuit of race victory. And in doing so, of course, missed out on the opportunity for that victory. And Mason Fedrick keeping his composure, keeping his calm, cool collectiveness as we always expect from the number 50. But maybe more to come tomorrow for Jensen Ansel if he's able to get his confidence back up. Mason Fedrick still not out of the woods just yet.
Yeah, not just yet. Mason Fedrick, that was his strong point, was just to keep his cool and do really well to defend, because Jensen Ansel was getting really aggressive at those early stages, and Mason Fedrick, he didn't panic, he didn't try and chase him down in those early stages, he just waited patiently for a way through. When he found his point, he went for it, got comfortable in the race, and then pulled a gap. And as you could see how big that gap was to the second place of Emilia Pereira, thanks to that really tight battle at the end between him and Jensen Knowles. But yeah, it was good to end the race with such a close finish for second place. We were waiting for that for a long time.
We were indeed. Well, of course, for the MiniGP 50R category, that's going to wrap up their Saturday action. I think we've got a little bit of a track sort before we can then get the next class out on circuit. But of course, for the 50R category, their Saturday is over. They'll be back up for race 2 and 3 into the second half of their 2026 campaign over tomorrow. Make sure you don't miss it. It's time for the senior mini-moto category. Big men on some very little bikes, and Tom Burt leading the championship with Harvey Jeremy very close behind in second. Andrew Weed in the top three. Reigning champion Matt Birkin not here this weekend and missing 2 races at Houghton Park by virtue of an incident that he had over that weekend on Sunday morning. So it hands the reins over to Tom Burt and to Harvey Jeremy, who have been trading victories all season long. 5 wins between the two of them, 14 podiums between the two of them. And they'll make their way out onto the grid for their first race of the weekend. And we'll run you through the grid order in just a couple moments' time. What I can say, though, is that Harvey Jeremy has got the better of his championship rival, albeit with a 33-point deficit to close up. It's Martin Glossop, though. And we spoke about Vinnie Glossop being very, very good, of course, earlier on in the day. Let's see what Martin can do from pole position. Harvey Jeremy alongside him on the front row. Then comes Tom Burt and Nick Bennett, who historically runs quite well around Ellough Park. Reece Gentry from Chris Yeomans on row 3. George Rennicks, Chris Bain, Gary Eldridge from Nicky Lewis, Ruby Wild and Rob Gentry, P12 and last on the grid for the senior mini motos.
Yeah, and someone who dominated last year's proceedings in this class at Ellough Park, Matt Birkin, as you said, not present in this one, so that makes a big difference to the championship. Matt Birkin was quite low down in the championship standings for his standards going into this round, and yeah, unfortunately missing it, but congratulations, though, to him and his partner Zoe on the. To be honest, I'm not quite sure if Zoe's given birth yet or not. But he did let us know that he's got another kid on the way, and that's why he's going to have to miss this round. But hopefully, we'll see him out in 2 weeks' time at Silverstone. I'm sure Matt Birkin couldn't miss out on the Junior British Grand Prix. Surely not.
I mean, having a kid's a pretty monumental moment in your life, but whatever. Matt Birkin, of course, he sits P4 in the championship. And to be fair, he's missed 2 races at Houghton Park by virtue of his injuries. He's still 53 points behind. So even if he won both of those races, he still would be trailing Tom Burt by 3 points in the championship. Of course, Tom Burt would have lost a couple of points if Matt won that, so he probably would lead the championship. Nonetheless, he's not here. And, well, on pole position is Martin Glossop. Lights come on for the senior mini-motos. Lights go out. We go racing once again here at Ellough Park. A nice start from pole position. Look for the 711 of Nick Bennett. That was convenient there for the all-red machine to the the inside of turn 1, will take second position, but then comes the drag race towards turn number 2. Look out for the 68, of course, of Tom Burt, one of our championship protagonists, and in fact the championship leader, searching for his 4th race win of the season. So far so good though for the 45, who will go through to take the lead of the race, and that's Harvey Jeremy.
Yeah, what a brilliant launch from Harvey Jeremy. On the second row of the grid, he just got it going so effortlessly. Wheeled it down to turn 1. As you'll see, these riders, they have to push it with their legs to try and get the best start possible. So balance bike training in their younger years, of course, is very important, I suppose, in making sure they can get the best starts possible. And that is evident as Harvey Jeremy continues to lead this race, pulls out a little bit of a gap, but a battle going on here between Martin Glossop and many riders in behind him for this podium battle, and the absence of Matt Birkin making this a really big group. That was Nick Bennett that he just went up the inside of there, and the championship leader Tom Burt has to make a podium in this one if Harvey Jeremy takes victory, because he's not got Harvey Jeremy too far behind him, so he can't afford to lose this amount of points at this early stage of the weekend. If he wants to continue leading the championship heading into tomorrow's action, you feel like he has to get on the podium.
What a move that was, though, from Martin Glossop. You could see it coming from a mile away as a rider down through. That's turn number 2. One of the all-red bikes. We'll confirm as to who it is, of course, as soon as we can. But yeah, Martin Glossop just kept the throttle pinned, was so late on the brakes for the penultimate corner, kept the throttle sort of, like I say, pinned. Had the inside by virtue in towards the final corner. He goes for the race lead though, and Harvey Jeremy will launch one to the inside of the final hairpin. Back underneath though, they're side by side on the run to the line, almost brushing knees as Martin Glossop will ascend down the inside of the penultimate corner. Harvey Jeremy responds into the final hairpin, and now we've got a fight for the lead on our hands. A championship protagonist, and well, this weekend's wild card in the form of Glossop. 6.5 laps left to go. It's Jeremy from Glossop and Bennett fighting with Burt for the final place on the podium.
Oh, they were bashing elbows through that hairpin as they went side by side towards the straight to start the next lap. With 7 laps left now, I think we're going to see that quite a few more times between those two if Martin Glossop is able to prevent Harvey Jeremy from pulling away in the lead at this point in time. But Tom Burt still waiting there in 4th place, building his way into this race to try and find his way onto the podium, as now he looks for a move on Nick Bennett. Can't quite find the inside line. Perfectly defensive from Nick Bennett. Is there a move available here? No, because Tom Burt goes for the wide line.
Yeah, back underneath us, the championship leader, 33 points that he's got in his pocket over Harvey Jeremy, so doesn't want to take too much risk, especially with Jeremy in contention for the race then. If there's a DNF for Burt and a race win for Jeremy, that points, advantage comes down from 33 to 8, so he cannot afford a DNF in the slightest. That's 5.5 laps left to go. Glossop from Jeremy, then comes Bennett, Burt, Gentry, your top 5. Following the battle there, the 7-11 of Nick Bennett. Conveniently sat in between the two of them. Tom Burt, though, in front and starting to pull clear away from Nick Bennett, who has been a regular podium finisher both this season. He's taken 2 of them, and, well, consistently inside the top 10 is Nick Bennett. He's won races in FAB-Racing in the past. Potentially not to be today, though. Rob Gentry down the inside on the 100 will get the move done, race to the apex. Nick Bennett will try and get up and underneath him, not quite close enough on that occasion, and not close enough for a move into the final hairpin as well. That's Reece Gentry on the 100 as they'll take their way on to the next lap. Over halfway through this race, Glossop still fighting with Jeremy. Now that Tom Burt, though, has got some fresh air in front of him, maybe he can start to push and maybe get after the top 2 if they battle, and that starts to boil over.
Yeah, 100%, because Martin Glossop has made his way back into the lead and trying to make his way away from the man in second as well. But Harvey Jeremy, despite having a couple wins this season, you feel could have had a few more. He's had quite a few chain issues, had a bit of bad luck, crashed a couple of times, and that's what makes the gap a lot bigger than what it felt like it should be coming into this round between himself and Tom Burt. But now taking some points out the championship leader if it stays like this. So even if he comes second in this race, a really positive race for Harvey Jeremy to close down the gap in the championship standings. But yeah, Reece Gentry trying to make a salvage job hard as possible for the championship leader as he continues to chase down Tom Burt down the straight. But it looks like the battle for the lead is all the tighter. Martin Glossop continues to lead, but Harvey Jeremy putting him under some severe pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. 4 laps left to go at the line here at Ellough Park for race 1 of Senior Minimoto. into the second half of the season as well, round 4 of 7 this weekend. There we can see the 85 a bit further back into the pack, picking them up. Very nice transition from the front to the rear end of the field. There's the 85 though, like I say, that being Chris Yeomans fighting the George Rennicks in the battle for 6th and for 7th. There he is, the 85, now through the hairpin. Through turn number 3, definitely got a little bit of a margin over George Rennick just behind, but still opportunity maybe for that battle to change. Glossop and Jeremy, by the way, separated by just over 1/10 of a second last time they crossed the line, so a lot to be interested by at the front end of this field. For Glossop coming in as the wild card, for Jeremy as the championship chaser. 3 laps left to go. They'll go through turn number 1. Glossop still with a couple of bike lanes clear. There's got to be something that Jeremy can pull out of this bag to still contend for the lead. Meanwhile, Burt and Gentry fight for 3rd behind.
Yes, they do. They'll be going all they can. They'll be doing all they can to fight for that final spot on the podium. It will be Rhys Gentry's first podium in quite a while in this class, and he'll be pushing very hard for this one here at Ellough Park. But we continue to watch this battle for the lead, which is starting to stretch out a little bit now, because Martin Glossop is putting in a shift in these final few laps to try and break Harvey Jeremy's spirits. But I don't think it's quite over yet, because Harvey Jeremy, we've seen this in a few battles he's had with Tom Burt, Matt Birkin, and so many other riders, that he sort of takes a little break in the stage of 3 laps to go. Then once you get to the final 2 laps, like we are now, it really starts to get intense. He pushes on and digs deep and finds his way through. He leaves himself a lap to catch up and a lap to get through. Let's see if it works this time, because back markers are making life difficult for Martin Glossop as he runs wide, nearly going into the back there of Ruby Wild, and up the inside prematurely, as I way before I predicted. Goes through into the lead, does Harvey Jeremy. What a brilliant move to shoot his way up the inside, take advantage of that situation, which forced Martin Glossop out wide. A brilliant manoeuvre as he now takes the lead with a lap and a half to go.
Yeah, not long left to go in this race. And what a move that was for Jeremy, but now he's got to keep his composure. He's got to keep it. He's got to keep his wits about him. They split the traffic either side into the penultimate hairpin. Glossop trying to go the long way around. He's tried that move before, but, well, Jeremy's got the better of him. Now through the final corner to start the final lap of the race. 1.1 kilometres of Ellough Park to negotiate for the senior mini motos. Harvey Jeremy looking to take steps towards the championship lead. He's got a 33-point deficit to close up of current, and, well, 25 points for the win to the 15 that Tom Burt will get for 3rd is a good way to start. Through the long sweeping right-hander at turn number 2. Jeremy desperate to keep the lead, desperate to go for his 3rd win of the season. Glossop over his shoulder though, applying that pressure, goes over the curb there, very bumpy, especially with these mini motos, no suspension to dampen that in the slightest. Harvey Jeremy has got the measure now into the final sector for the final time. It's got to be a last-ditch effort for Martin Glossop if he wants to go for the race win into the final braking zone of the circuit, and it's not quite close enough, but he's going to try his best to keep it pinned. He's not. It's not going to be enough. Harvey Jeremy through the final corner just has to see the checkered flag first for the 3rd time in 2026. Harvey Jeremy will take victory in the senior mini motos, and he takes his 7th podium of the season with it as well. What a ride between the two of them, and what a battle that they shared. Tom Burt brings it home in P3 from Bennett, and then comes Gentry in P5. A disappointing end to that one for the 100, despite being in contention with Burt for the podium, but ultimately not to be. And you can see Jeremy and Glossop there sharing the handshake on the cooldown lap in what was a brilliant display here at Ellough Park.
Yeah, what a perfect opportunity there arose for Harvey Jeremy, for him to get through, and how perfectly he dealt with it as well, picking the perfect line. Is that what you're seeing right there is that maturity for Harvey Jeremy, which you'll see in the senior mini moto classes. Of course, the riders being adults, you'll see a little bit more strategy in that situation. But what a brilliant ride then from Harvey Jeremy, who takes victory ahead of Martin Glossop in 2nd and Tom Burt in 3rd. And then 4th behind them was Rhys Gentry, who unfortunately missed out on a podium, but he will get stronger as the weekend goes on, and he is desperate to find his first podium of the season. So let's hope he can do that and make that instead of a 2 rider battle for the race victory, maybe a 4 tomorrow on Sunday.
Maybe so. For the senior mini motos, though, of course, on the build-up towards the Junior GP event at Silverstone, they are one of the most entertaining classes out there, and they prove that with race number 1. For the Saturday action, that's going to, of course, conclude it, but they'll be back out for race 2 and race 3 for round 4 of 2026 tomorrow.
And now the main event here at FAB-Racing comes your way here at Ellough Park. The MK Mini GP70 class makes its way onto the track for the two strokes to get singing around Ellough Park. Such a brilliantly fast track which plays into the two strokes hands to make for some amazing racing, staying above the power band for as long as they can and battling as hard as they can. We see the riders progress from this class to the Moto4 British Cup, but the one who's dominating at this time isn't old enough by a long shot to get there just yet. So will we see him stay around for a bit longer and maybe even become a fourth-time Mini GP70 champion?
Potentially so. But this championship is the pinnacle of the FAB-Racing paddock, and well, only a point separating Bradley Curtis and Sebastian Gazlowski at the top. There's been 9 races between the pair of them. They've won all of them. 4 for Bradley Curtis, 5 for Gazlowski. 17 podiums between the two of them as well. They've been on the inside the top 10 on all 9 occasions thus far. Coming into this weekend, separated by a single point, but Gazlowski the one with the momentum. Let's see what he can do on that 64 machine. By the looks of it, they'll be starting alongside each other on the front row of the grid as well. Now, Riley, if you're Gazlowski and you're starting on the left-hand side of the grid, albeit pole position, do you maybe not feel that you're at a slight disadvantage towards turn 2? If Bradley Curtis can just get a slight bit of a measure off the start, get the bike point exactly where he needs it to, he's actually got the advantage if Gazlowski hasn't got the launch to come over and cover it off. Yeah, 100%. I think that is gonna be the result out of turn 1, and I think Sebastian Gazlowski knows that as well, because Bradley Curtis, he's going to be desperate to put up any challenge he can to Sebastian Gazlowski and hold on to that championship lead for as long as he possibly can. So I think he's going to dart to the inside as late as he can on the brakes, find a way through on the inside, and with that, though, maybe getting a bit desperate, running wide, and that's what I mean by Sebastian Gazlowski may know that. So he might let way more space than he intends to, does Bradley Curtis, and put himself wide onto the straight, and Gazlowski can either get the run onto the straight and up the inside into turn 2, or just in general get the switch back. Let's run you through the grid then for the first race of 3 for the Metrocup Mini GP70. Sebastian Gazlowski starts alongside championship leader Bradley Curtis. A reminder, only a point between the two of them. And, well, between the two of them, they've won every single race so far this season. Rex Austin alongside Caelan Ratcliffe on row 2. Then comes Nicholas Dunwoody and Maxwell Keats on row 3. Daisy Polden alongside Josh Perkins with Harry James, Boyan Blazewski and Taylor Davies, the 11th and final rider to take to the start of this one. And, well, a lot of tension, a lot of build-up with the 2 stars of the championship starting on the front row. I mean, it's going to be difficult to pick the two of them apart. They were very close in qualifying, less than 0.2 of a second between the two of them. Gazlowski, though, the pressure is on to get that start, to cover off the lead. Otherwise, Bradley Curtis could take an early swing and secure control on the opening lap.
Yeah, that's exactly what this is here at Ellough Park in the GP70 class. This is going to be an eventful first lap, an eventful race, an eventful weekend for the Mini GP70 class as the pressure builds and as the countdown continues to fall to the Junior British Grand Prix. We're all so excited, as so are these riders who will be out there in full force for the Junior British Grand Prix. But let's see how this first corner plays out.
Indeed so. Eyes to the lights. Sebastian Gazlowski, Bradley Curtis sharing the front row of the field. The amphibian scaffolding Metrocup Mini GP70s goes racing here at Ellough Park. A wheelie there for Gazlowski, but a start that's good enough to see him in the lead at turn number 1. Bradley Curtis under pressure as Rex Austin will go through the opening corner. Caelan Ratcliffe eyed it up as well. Bradley Curtis to the inside of the long sweeping turn number 2, and the advantage goes the way of Sebastian Gazlowski. He's home and free on the opening lap. Meanwhile, Bradley Curtis looking forwards to attack Austin and backwards to defend from Ratcliffe.
That's exactly the start that Sebastian Gazlowski wanted, and it's the exact start that we've seen from him so many times this season. He gets away and gets gone immediately, and now just looks to control the race and command nice and steady for the rest of the weekend and for the rest of the season. But yeah, a great start as well for Rex Austin, who has been electric over the past couple rounds, but trying now is a move from Bradley Curtis. Can't quite make it through. A little bit of a daring attempt, which may allow Caelan Ratcliffe some space at the inside. Perhaps Caelan Ratcliffe being a little bit more careful after the drama that happened last time out of Hooton Park, which puts a sharp end to their challenge for the podium. But nonetheless, Bradley Curtis still looking to contend for that second place. He's not done yet and looks to pass Rex Austin as early as he can.
Yeah, Rex Austin, Kellen Ratcliffe both got such good starts. Bradley Curtis, not the case. Gazlowski, although popping the wheelie, actually, the power application was there. He balanced it really, really well. Didn't let the front wheel come up too high and, well, managed to keep the lead, very crucially, on the opening lap. There you can see the 82 of Bojan Blaževski out of this race. Maybe a bike issue befalling Blaževski on this occasion, and well, that's going to see him out of contention for the first race of 3 this weekend. Fight for second, though, as Rex Austin will lead Bradley Curtis in that respective battle. Kalen Ratcliffe getting a front row seat to all of it. Rex Austin, currently his best position of the season is third, currently running in second and going for his 4th consecutive podium in 2026, taking step after step in improvement and right now challenging, well, the championship leader coming into this race. Indeed, he's got to keep his wits about him, and Bradley Curtis, that pressure ramping up as we tick towards the halfway point in this race.
Yeah, he's the meat in this sandwich trio for second, third and fourth, because Kalen Ratcliffe is nowhere near done yet with these two in front of him, trying his best to contend for that podium and get through into third or second. And they're going into second now is Bradley Curtis, who takes the second place on the podium. Oh, that was a pretty costly mistake for Rex Austin, as he not only loses second but third, because he loses the run down to turn 1, and quickly responding is Kalen Ratcliffe, who takes third place. So just as we were singing Rex Austin's praise, he's got all the work to do to get back to second place.
Yeah, Kalen Ratcliffe read that situation brilliantly, waited for the time to strike, and it came at the expense, of course, of Rex Austin. Bradley Curtis was quick to capitalise, and then Ratcliffe used that momentum to better himself up onto the podium now for the 96 for what could well be the 5th time this season. Curtis there, though, trying to mitigate the damage to Gazlowski in the championship, and as it stands, there'll be 4 points between them in favour of Gazlowski at the end of this race, but a long way still to go. Fight for third. There's Ratcliffe, the 96, the Hornet liveried number, and then the 991, the pink and the black of Rex Austin, who is a previous champion. Of course, battled with Kalen Ratcliffe back in 2024 in the AC40 Pro class. Came off better in that occasion. They were joined, of course, by Mason Federick as well that year, in what was a titanic showdown between the three of them. One that came all the way down to the wire here at Ellough Park, and right now it's coming down to the wire in the fight for the podium between Ratcliffe and Rex Austin. Yeah, Bradley Curtis got into second now and just looks to pull away as he planned to do straight away to try and close the gap to Gazlowski. You feel like it's not possible. Oh, wow, that was a desperate manoeuvre up the inside for Rex Austin to try and get the move done on Kalen Ratcliffe as soon as possible to prevent Bradley Curtis from getting away. A little bit too brave there, and he knew it once he committed, because he decided to pull out of it last minute and stay in fourth for now and wait for a moment to get through on Kalen Ratcliffe. Perhaps a mistake coming from the number 96 that could offer Rex Austin a chance to shoot up the inside. But yeah, at this point in time, Bradley Curtis really stretching out a gap and using some fantastic pace to pull away from this group behind him. Exactly that, through the hairpin. Kalen Ratcliffe ahead now of Rex Austin, has been for the last couple of laps. And what's been a pretty nice display indeed in the Premier class. Gazlowski, though, well, giving them a demonstration in how to go quick around Ellough Park. He is unbelievable around this circuit and proving it once more. He's home and clear, really, of Bradley Curtis, who, since getting in front of Rex Austin, has been able to pull away from the two behind to secure second position, but right now, not good enough to keep the championship lead of this race. You can see as they make their way towards turn 1, Gazlowski not even in shot with 5.5 laps left to go. Bradley Curtis just in consolidation mode, really. Largely, you have to say, let down, not necessarily by his pace, but just by that start, putting him on the back foot, giving Rex Austin that initial measure. And now Curtis spending the whole rest of the race either managing the gap or playing catch-up to Gazlowski. If he can get a better start tomorrow morning for race number 2, we still have got the two title protagonists fighting here at Ellough Park. Yeah, it's a matter of learning for Bradley Curtis to see where he's faster than Sebastian Gazlowski at this stage of the race, just in general pace, now that they've both got their own spaces to work with, because now Gazlowski will contend with some lap traffic, but that's nothing to him because he's got plenty of laps to go to get in some nice laps. He's clearly got the speed here at Ellough Park, so he hasn't got much more to work on.
of course, for the rest of the season. But as he goes to every track, we remind you that this is his first time riding these tracks on the GP70. So it really shows how incredible he is performing to learn these tracks so quickly, find the space to make these amazing moves. And even if he has to make the moves, because for now, I don't think he's made that many moves in the last couple rounds because of how quickly he's got to the lead, and now makes his way round the hairpin, about to cross the line, make it 4 laps to go. Bradley Curtis just learning and getting some laps out there on his own to try and figure out where he's losing time, and maybe he'll come back, as you said, tomorrow and bring back a stronger result and a stronger challenge to Sebastian Gawlowski.
Sebastian Gawlowski so far this season has been very equanimable in the sense that he's able to keep his composure, keep an equilibrium, if you like, in terms of his mental state. He doesn't let things get to him. He's very good at just, taking it as it goes, keeping his composure and staying in the right headspace, and that's been his advantage over the season thus far. Not gone for anything overly desperate, just maximising his results, and, well, this race has been the perfect display of consistency and pace for Sebastian Gawlowski. Caolan Ratcliffe, though, you have to say he's been unbelievable this race, capitalising on the moves and the mistakes, really, of Bradley Curtis and Rex Austin in order to promote himself on to the podium. Very perspicacious, potentially, for Caolan Ratcliffe, seeing things that others might miss and enable, by virtue of that, able to now find himself in the podium place. Over his shoulder, though, Rex Austin, Caolan Ratcliffe's not really been able to ride away from him. That pressure still is there, and he's got to keep himself calm with 3 laps left to go if he wants to keep third place. But there's the mistake right there. Rex Austin down the inside through turn 2.
Wow, what a brave move from Rex Austin to force his way through on Caolan Ratcliffe. Took advantage of that tiny little mistake which ruined Caolan Ratcliffe's run down the straight, and wow, it was brilliant and perfectly structured by Rex Austin, and now has the job of pulling away. He wants to catch Bradley Curtis, but you feel like at this stage it's not very doable because Bradley Curtis has put in some very quick laps over about the last 5 laps since he broke away from that group to escape, and now Caolan Ratcliffe has got 2 more laps to contend with to try and find his way back through and get that final spot on the podium. He'll be back out in literally only a couple moments time for the mini GP50 race later on today, but right now he's focused on the 70s where he's got a podium still in sight.
Absolutely. A lap and a half left to go, but Rex Austin, in terms of pace, got the advantage over Caolan Ratcliffe. There is your race leader, though, Sebastian Gawlowski, searching for his 6th win of the season, his 9th podium from the 10 races so far, only missing out on 1 occasion, and that was when he started from pit lane. Let's not forget race 1 at Hooton Park, and that could well be a defining moment in the championship in what was a race he was meant to start from pole position. He clawed his way back through, still finishing 6th, and at the end of this lap, it could be a super final lap from Super Seb to take the lead back in this titanic duel between himself and Bradley Curtis in the championship.
Yeah, such consistent lap times, such fast lap times as well. I'm sure as the weekend goes on, we'll look to challenge the lap record of a 47.3, which was set in 2022 by Marco Holt, of course, another FAB graduate who went on to the Moto4 British Cup, and a congratulations to Marco Holt, who took his very first victory in the Moto4 British Cup in his rookie season last weekend at Brands Hatch. But right now, instead of a first race win for Sebastian Gawlowski, he adds to the tally if he can make it to the final few corners now in the mini GP70 class by amphibian scaffolding. He comes around the last corner, up the gears and across the line, because the number 64 takes victory in the GP70 class yet again and overtakes Bradley Curtis in the championship. It was 1 point coming in, and now becomes a much bigger gap of advantage in the form of Gawlowski now, who takes the lead of the championship. But Bradley Curtis, yet another 2nd place, staying consistent, staying strong, and keeping command of that podium battle, passing Rex Austin and Caolan Ratcliffe in the end to take that 2nd and pulling away as well. But Rex Austin coming home for the final spot on the podium, a brilliant move by him to dart up the inside in the later stages and take advantage of Caolan Ratcliffe coming home in 4th place. He'll be disappointed to miss out on the podium, but as the weekend continues on, he'll build that confidence and he'll eventually get back to fighting for that podium. But that is it then for the Mini GP70 class for today by Amphibian Scaffolding, because their race comes to an end. They'll be back tomorrow for 2 more, but we've only got a few races left to go. And that was Sebastian Gawslawski on the top of the standings yet again. What a brilliant ride by him, winning the race 7.8 seconds ahead of Bradley Curtis and Rex Austin in 3rd. Caelan Ratcliffe in 4th, Nicholas Dunwoody in 5th, followed by Polden, Perkins, James Keats and Davies rounding out the top 10. But yeah, Mini GP70s might not have been the most entertaining race today, but there is still plenty of action yet to come as we move on to the final couple races of the day. But that was your main event, and there's plenty more racing for the GP70s tomorrow and in 2 weeks. And now we move to the more adult class. The Pit Bike 140s come to the track here at Ellough Park, and Pit Bike Sonic at his home round in Ellough Park, the championship leader, looks to take his first win of the season. Might be championship leader, but still hasn't claimed that elusive victory yet in 2026, and neither has Harrison Quincy. So 2 people who have won championships before in the Pit Bike 140 class and have also been so consistent in this title fight. Won races last year as well, both him and Harrison. And still, yeah, thanks to the wildcards from Taylor Lawrence and Ollie Horner, and of course the amazing performances from that of Chris Wells that have prevented them from taking the race victory in the Pit Bike 140 class. That could change here, because on the bigger bikes at this really fast-flowing Ellough Park circuit, we could see a few more dive bombs and overtakes, especially down into turn 1. Can Jamie King or Harrison Quincy make it that first victory of the season here in race 1?
Indeed. So Jamie King, let's not forget as well, despite coming into this as the championship leader, is doing a lot of heavy lifting, doing 3 classes. The Extreme Seniors, Pit Bike 140s and Motor Team. We saw him take P2 to Marco Pandolfo, Team Atme Racing. And in terms of the championship, yeah, just 6 points covers the top 2, just 15, by the way, covers the top 3. But here's the consistency. Jamie King, Harrison Quincy, 0 wins apiece. Chris Wells, 5. Fair enough, he wasn't here for Clay Pigeon, he was at the Isle of Man, so he missed out on a potential 75 points there and has been on a climb back through the championship. So, well, he's been consistent in his own right, just absent for a round. Nonetheless, Jamie King, Harrison Quincy doing enough to stay in contention. And let's see what can happen here, of course, at Ellough Park, where in the pit bikes, well, there's always a spot of intrigue. They'll make their way around, of course, for their formation lap in just a couple of moments' time, and we'll, of course, run you through the grid in just a couple of moments as well. But one thing I would like to point out is that for Jamie King, considering this should be his best circuit, only P4 in qualifying. Yeah, that's a bit disappointing on his terms, considering that's one of his worst qualifying this season. His favourite track, as you said, his home track. His second home, as I said before already, is Ellough Park, as he lines up on the grid looking to take victory, maybe starting 4th, so he has a bit more content to put on the YouTube channel. A title of second row to a historic race win at home would be a perfect YouTube title for him to post in after this weekend. But will it be possible or will it not? Because Harrison Quincy is on pole position. He has taken so many pole positions this season, but can he finally convert that into a win? We'll have to wait and see. Indeed. So just waiting for a final few things to be sorted out onto the grid. Just one thing, again, to rub salt into the wound for Jamie King. From memory, I actually don't think he's won at home. He's come perilously close. Back in 2024, Jamie King fighting with the likes of Luke Brown and, of course, Chris Wells, who was battling with him. Maybe he's won a couple of times, but definitely not as much as he should. Like I say, back in 2024, there was a battle with Lucas Brown that he lost out on, I think, 2 of the 3 occasions with some very Jamie King-esque mistakes, let's put it that way. Harrison Quincy, though, will start this race from pole position, nonetheless, from Chris Wells in P2. Richard Holmes-Williams from Jamie King, the front 2 rows with Ben Simpson and Tommy Almond on row 3. Stephen Humphreys from Luke Kirstein, from Callum Maxwell and Bradley Ferreira, the top 10. Behind that comes Perry Tomset, Bradley Powell, Ivana Di Francesco from Matthew Rayland, Daniel Cliff from Jamie Hughes, then comes Dan Gilbert, Tom Wise, Roman Ratcliffe, John Goodenough, and Freddie Wadsworth in P21. And last, Jamie King starts this one 4th on home soil. here basically every single weekend. I wonder how many excuses he's going to pull out if he doesn't manage to win this race. Harrison Quincy searching for his first win of the season. Chris Wells searching for his 6th, and with it, the championship lead as well. All to play for on the front row of the grid.
They'll be pushing as hard as they can to get the best results out of this weekend. Of course, we won't be seeing the Pit Bike 140 class present at Silverstone in 2 weeks' time, so they've got a month break pretty much until the end of August at Rowra, where these bikes will return. So everyone wants to start the break with the best result they possibly can. Let's see who can get that result as the lights go on, and in a few moments time they'll go out, and they go out now for the Pit Bike 140s to start their first race of the weekend. And already off with a great start is Harrison Quincy, but a bad start for Pit Bike Sonic, who unfortunately drops down the order all the way down to I think maybe 6th place, 7th place. A really disappointing start for Pit Bike Sonic, aka Jamie King, who drops down the order, but already getting aggressive is the rider in green. That's not Taylor Lawrence this time, I don't think, but Harrison Quincy getting off to the perfect start that he needed to get in order to clear off and try and get the monkey off his back to chase down more wins for the rest of the season.
Yeah, that's Richard Holmes-Williams looking down the inside of Chris Wells on the opening lap. As, oh my goodness me, huge incident at the back end chicane there. 2 or 3 riders down, I believe. Both of them picking their bikes up and able to get back going again. One of them is I think that's the 180 potentially. Nonetheless, they'll be recovering as quickly as they possibly can. That's Ben Simpson is one of them. Opening lap is in the books. Harrison Quincy will lead them across the line from Chris Wells, from Holmes-Williams, and from Jamie King, who got swamped at the start and dropping off the back of the top 3, who are all in chase of each other, with still plenty of racing to go in the pit bikes.
Yeah, a shame for Ben Simpson, who started the season off so strong with a race win in the first race of the season at Lydd, and then continued on that podium challenging pace, but hasn't quite returned to that same form since, and unfortunately goes down there on the first lap of racing here at Ellough Park. But Harrison Quincy, looks like that gap that he pulled out in the first lap looks to have been closed by Chris Wells and Richard Holmes-Williams, because we are going to see a big battle once again by a group of 3 riders. We said it might be a tale of the big 3, but this time Jamie King is not included in that one. It might be a squad of riders fighting for victory if Jamie King can catch up. But if he wants to do that, he really is hoping for these guys to start battling it out, and that's exactly what we're about to see as a Chris Wells thinks about a move up the inside, but realises he's got plenty of time left to make a move. But feels like if you want to break Harrison Quincy's rhythm, you got to make a move and ruin it on the early stages to see if you can battle all the way to the end.
Look at those 3 riders. You can barely see Richard Holmes-Williams tucked up behind Chris Wells. Again, 5 victories from the 6 races that he's competed in so far this season. Just 6 points off the back of Jamie King in the fight for the championship lead. That almost certainly is going to change at the checkered flag of this one, unless something entirely dramatic happens over the course of the next 8 laps, which, well, don't hold your breath, could still happen. Out through the final corner, Quincy feeling the pressure from Chris Wells, who he knows can go for moves like this down the inside of the opening corner. But Chris Wells, he plays the patient game. He knows how to keep that composure. He knows how to analyse the opponent in front. He knows when and where not to strike. However, it's not a straight 1v1. Over his shoulder, he has got Holmes-Williams, who's searching for the podium. Down the inside, in the green leathers, gets it stopped through the hairpin, and Chris Wells drops back to 3rd place in this train. Still side by side, then he gets the switch back and gets the run. Still ahead by the time they reach turn 4.
Wow, that was incredible. What a move there for Richard Holmes-Williams. He's going to try it again up the inside, into the hairpin. Brilliant move on the switchback, gets the exit and makes it work, and making life harder for Chris Wells to contend for victory and stay behind Harrison Quincy, who's now developing himself a perfectly big gap between this duo for 2nd place, and joining that group now will be Jamie King. And yeah, it was a great move from Richard Holmes-Williams, but unfortunately couldn't quite get the exit from that one. Back to the ring, Chris Wells, and as quick as he could responded did Richard Holmes-Williams. He loves this track, won so many races here last year, this time wild carding here at Ellough Park in 2026, and putting into proof how good he is here at Ellough Park. Knows the track enough to make a move like that. Now someone who does know the track as well as Richard Holmes-Williams, you'd think, is Jamie King, struggling to get into that podium battle after that poor start, and hopefully for his sake and for our sake, looking for a good battle, can get involved and fight for Chris Wells with that 3rd place. He'll be surprised to see Chris Wells not leading this race, as we all are. But Harrison Quincy looking like he's going to beat Jamie King to the first victory of 2026.
Well, What a ride so far it has been for Harrison Quincy. Look at that from Holmes Williams, though, using all of the track and then some towards turn number 1. Deceptively tight, and you do have to square it off quite a lot. You think it's a long sweeping right-hander, and to an extent it is, but that mid part of the corner, actually, you almost treat it as two 90-degree right-handers, especially on the exit. That tire wall on the left can come at you quite quickly. Harrison Quincy, though, hanging on. They've got a little bit of lap traffic to negotiate as well, just over halfway through this race. The 755 will go to the inside, and getting caught up a little bit there is Holmes Williams, but not too much to keep him off the rear wheel of Harrison Quincy. Holmes Williams could be going for the victory here. Quincy would be heartbroken if that was the case, and look at the gap closing under brakes. Pulling alongside there is Holmes Williams, forcing Harrison Quincy into a suboptimal line through the final hairpin, and that could well give Holmes Williams the ride towards the opening corner that he needs. In the slipstream on a very windy day down in Suffolk, Harrison Quincy, 5 laps between him and his first victory as the reigning champion.
I'll tell you what I'm seeing here from this race is he's made so many moves and so many attempts for moves. He now makes another one and goes up the inside to take the lead of the first race in Pit Bike 140s here at Ellough Park. Wow, what a move to get through into the lead with 5 laps to go. Can Harrison Quincy respond? He really thought about it there into the fast left-hander, but has got plenty of time to think about it and make his way through in the later stages. But he has to get through quite quickly, because I think Richard Holmes Williams has got the pace to pull away at this stage. But I'll tell you what, he's so strong on the brakes, is Holmes Williams, and doing a great job of just sending a dive, getting it squared off, and not losing much on the exit either. But let's see if Harrison Quincy can find a weakness, a chink in the armour for Holmes Williams, and make his way through. Still no move available yet for him at turn 1. Can he get it done?
Well, maybe so. 4 laps left to decide this one. Chris Wells not out of it just yet as an issue for another rider out there on circuit. 3.5 laps still to go. We'll see. Of course, our leaders run their way into shot through turn number 3. There they are. Pick them up there. There's the 126 of Holmes Williams down the inside through turn number 4. That's a desperate dive there from Harrison Quincy. Well, you can quite clearly see his first race win maybe slipping out of his grasp. Chris Wells right there with him. And if anything balls over between the top 2, will capitalise. Holmes Williams, though, parking it slightly on the inside through the penultimate hairpin just to deter the move from Harrison Quincy. Now through the final one. Quincy now analysing and seeing maybe where some of that pace deficit is. He's going to try and overcome it if he can. Still in the slipstream, like I say, and still very, very close. Dart to the inside of turn number 1, applying some of that pressure to Holmes Williams, and arriving back on the scene, it's Chris Wells.
Yeah, the Jaws music is playing as Chris Wells closes in on the reigning champion Harrison Quincy, because he's taking a while here to make that move on Richard Holmes Williams, and he's running out of time. He has to get through quickly, and here is the move. Can he make it work? Yes, he can. He's been practicing that one for the last 3 laps and puts it into effect with 3 laps to go. What a brilliant manoeuvre from the reigning champion here at Ellough Park, as he gets through back into the lead ahead of Richard Holmes Williams, who will try and respond the best he can with only 2 and a bit laps to go. Chris Wells, though, will do his absolute best to get involved in this fight. He's only got a couple laps, though, to get through on 2 riders. That's no easy task, but if anyone can do it, it's Chris Wells. He's got so many moves under his belt, so many wins under his belt here in the Pit Bike 140 class, and should be able to find his way through as long as he can keep it clean.
Harrison Quincy now with the advantage, and if Chris Wells can hold up Holmes Williams, that's going to play nicely into the hands of the reigning champion. But Holmes Williams quick to arrive back onto the rear wheel of Harrison Quincy. Of course, the Pit Bike 140s are focused at the front, but there's battles all the way through the very plentiful grid that we've got for the pit bikes. So many close levels of competition here, and being treated to a spectacle at the sharp end with championship implications. Of course, the top 3 with now just the lap to go at the line. Quincy from Holmes Williams, from Wells, they've completely dropped the home hero of Jamie King, who could well be dethroned here at Ellough Park. Across the line, look over the shoulder, Chris Wells to the inside of Holmes Williams. 1 lap left to go at Ellough Park, and look at that for Quincy. Can he bring it home for his first victory as the reigning champion, or does Holmes Williams have something left in his arsenal to throw at the youngster? Half a lap left to go to decide it all in the pit bikes.
This is where he was so strong, though, Richard Holmes-Williams, in this final stage of the lap. And I think we might just see a dive bomb if he's close enough at this point. I don't quite think so. But I think it's really important here for Chris Wells, if he's able to get through into second, through the events of something happening to one of these two, or just getting through, then it could put him into the lead of the championship ahead of Jamie King. But for now, it looks like the top three, despite its many changes throughout the race, around the final corner, won't change this time, because Harrison Quincy, the reigning champion, takes his first victory of the season. Look at the happiness from him, the emotes he's putting through there. He's really, really happy with that one, and rightfully so. That was a brilliant ride from Harrison Quincy to take another victory in the Pit Bike 140 class, but his first of the year. Richard Holmes-Williams, though, as a wild card, taking home second. A great ride from him, and one, as we've said so many times about wild cards this weekend, and people who have come to this track for the first time, that experience will build as the weekend goes on, and confidence will get all the greater.
Yeah, Holmes-Williams, a little bit of a local hero, actually, I think, at Ellough Park. Very familiar with the circuit in of itself, but Quincy is the reigning champion. Oh, what a ride from him and his maiden of this season. He'll close the gap to Jamie King in the championship. Chris Wells, as a result, I think, as it stands, will take the lead maybe in the championship. It definitely closes up between the top three champions. Let's not forget, 2026 could be one of the biggest spectacles in pit bike racing in history, as we have three titans take to the top. Of course, for Pit Bike 140s, we'll run you through the final results in just a couple of moments. But what a race and what a weekend they could well have. There is Harrison Quincy, so young and yet such a wise head on his shoulders. He fends off experienced veterans in the form of Richard Holmes-Williams and Chris Wells to bring home the victory. Jamie King off the podium at home in P4 from Humphreys, Kirstein. Then comes Armand, Randy Ferreira from Tomset, and Maxwell, the top 10 after 11 laps of racing action. Of course, for the pit bikes, they'll be back out tomorrow for race 2 and race 3, and hopefully it's a rinse and repeat of the action that we saw today.
Next up, the Mini GP50 class comes your way as the final few races get on track for Saturday's action at Ellough Park. FAB-Racing's best class so far this season, in my opinion. The Nova Racing Mini GP50 has done so well to impress, with such dramatic battles, incredible dive bombs, and runs to the line on so many occasions. Kaylin Ratcliffe and Emilio Pereira have been the stage leaders of this class, winning so many races, battling for so many race wins. It's been so incredible to watch. And then the podium battles as well between Williams and Morris and Perkins and many other riders. Oh, you always can't wait for this class all weekend long, because it always delivers the best action.
In a similar fashion to Gazlavsky and Curtis in the 70s, Pereira and Ratcliffe, they've traded every victory this season. There's been 9 races. Pereira's got 5. Ratcliffe has got the other 4. 9 podiums to Pereira, 8 to Ratcliffe, and just 16 championship points between the two of them. And at Houghton Park, we saw that rivalry in its fullest form. And once again, they share the front row for round number 4 of the FAB-Racing British Minibike Championship, brought to you by Mastermax Surfacing. This is the Nova Racing Mini GP50s. If you are now just joining us, this is a rivalry that will go through and follow them for the rest of their careers. Pereira and Ratcliffe, who we see in other classes, but this is their main focus. This is the one they want to go and win. And Pereira on pole position, despite coming off in qualifying, will be looking to lead them from the front row.
Yeah, both of those top two, you may have heard us talk earlier at the start of the broadcast that Pereira and Ratcliffe both had offs today and yesterday in practice and qualifying, but it does not affect them one bit. They both start on the front row and look to battle each other as hard as they can for yet another victory here in the Nova Racing GP50 class. But starting on pole then, as previously mentioned, is Emilio Pereira ahead of his rival, Kaylin Ratcliffe, in second. And then behind them is Tommy Williams, Bo Morris, Josh Perkins, Jensen Cedras, Reed Saxelby, Nelly Nuth, Adele Everett, Oliver Wilson in front of her in 10th place, and then William Skingle and Oliver Cheeseman rounding out the grid in 13th place. But the eyes all look to the battle in front front. But another battle that has been occurring, not only in GP50, but 50R as well, all season long, is Bo Morris versus Tommy Williams. Who will get the advantage heading towards Silverstone? Because the gap between them for third in the championship is only 7 points separate Bo Morris, Josh Perkins and Tommy Williams for that third place. So expect to be some big drama and some big overtakes between those three across this race.
Yeah, Tommy Williams finally getting that third place finish after getting fourth and fifths for every single other race. Race number 3 at Hooton Park, he got himself onto the podium and will be looking to replicate that from third place on the grid. For the Nova Racing Mitch Kit Mini GP50s though, the championship battle boils over potentially in Beccles. We Go Racing, and a great launch there from Bo Morris. He splits the two as he'll go straight into second place, but Ratcliffe will try and fend him off through the long sweeping opening corner. Emilio Pereira though, the perfect launch for the championship leader, closely followed down by Caelan Ratcliffe through turn number 2, who was able to thwart the challenge of Bo Morris. And now towards the opening hairpin, the 96 all over the rear end of the 31.
I'll probably say that move there from Bo Morris is what Caelan Ratcliffe needed to have such an explosive first lap, as he now tries to go a long way around of Emilio Pereira. I haven't seen that one before. Nearly ends up on the grass, trying to set up and move around the outside of his rival on the number 31 Metrokit Mini GP50. And as I was saying, it looks like he just needed that little bit of a scare and boost of adrenaline to get moving on this first lap, because that's what we've seen in these races, is that usually Emilio Pereira gets away quite dominantly in the first half of the race, and then Caelan Ratcliffe responds as the race goes on. But I feel like that small bit of challenge has pushed him forward, because look how aggressive he's getting in these early stages, trying to go up the inside, can't quite find a way through, and I think we've got a brilliant battle in store for the rest of this race.
Yeah, Caelan Ratcliffe, we've already mentioned that he's very perspicacious. He knows how to deal with a battle like this. He knows how to look for weaknesses. Maybe there's one there. He's applying the pressure to Emilio Pereira, who wears his heart on his sleeve every single race. Is very emotive. You can almost, feel what he's feeling with his inputs on the bike. You can see exactly how he's riding, and he does it with such passion. Caelan Ratcliffe, though, searching now for the space to the inside of the final corner. Goodness me, trying to put a front wheel there. He's getting desperate maybe in this fight, but what it means is that Emilio Pereira is fully aware of his presence and is feeling every ounce of pressure. The 96, though, with the ride out of turn number 1, looks to the inside of turn number 2, but to no avail. Pereira has got it covered purely by just getting the bike in hard to every single corner. He's not really having to defend. He's just pointing the bike at the apex.
Yeah, the confidence from Caelan Ratcliffe to throw the bike into every corner, and the tightest line possible, and now the widest line possible that was so close again. Every corner he's got so close to the back wheel of Emilio Pereira, trying to show him a wheel and try and force him into a mistake to drop back when he eventually goes through. Could it be here into the hairpin? Not just yet. He bides his time. I don't think he's been waiting that much, to be honest, because it looks like he's desperate to get through. Every opportunity he's had, he's tried to make his way through on Emilio Pereira, and that is reflecting how confident and strong he is on these early stages here at Ellough Park, because the speed clearly is not reflecting the position he's in. He's desperate to get out in the lead and pull out a gap.
Yeah, he's trying to. Maybe, of course, it is very windy here at Ellough Park. That is playing a factor in terms of how strong the slipstream, the tow, is around here. Tommy Williams and Bo Morris fighting for the podium as well. Let's not forget. You have to say, though, Pereira, the fact that he's able to keep such a confidence around this circuit, but Caelan Ratcliffe through. He's tried it. Third time lucky, but Pereira's got the switch back down the inside of the chicane. What a move for the championship leader. And look at that. It spooked Ratcliffe a little bit. The gap has opened back up once more. Ratcliffe thought he was through, thought he'd found the weakness in the defence of Pereira, but just when you thought you're through and you're comfortable, Pereira finds the difference and throws it back down the inside. They're 1 and 2, as they have been all race long thus far. What does Ratcliffe need to do to thwart the, incredible riding thus far of Emilio Pereira?
That was a masterful response from Emilio Pereira, who's been, rather... lack of emotion for most of this race. As you said earlier, you can tell Caelan Ratcliffe, he's feeling aggressive, he's feeling confident, he wears his heart on his sleeve. You can tell what mood he's in just by looking at how he rides, whereas Emilio Pereira, he's a little bit more masked and hides that a little bit more from his rivals to give him less of an advantage over him mentally. And we saw the move from Caelan Ratcliffe, went through and immediately responded, did Emilio Pereira, straight back up the inside and forced Caelan Ratcliffe out wide and left a massive gap behind him to allow a bit of a breather for Emilio Pereira to realise, okay, Caelan Ratcliffe is much quicker than me at this point. I'm going to send it up the inside, push him out wide and give myself a little bit of time to just think and progress through this race and make Caelan Ratcliffe run out of time and get a bit too desperate, try and force him into a mistake maybe.
Yeah, last time through, look at that. Caelan Ratcliffe, fastest lap of the race, the 49.609, also takes the lead of the race. And down there, the 35. Oh, goodness me. That is Oliver Cheeseman, who we saw there. And as a result, the yellow flags. Hopefully he is okay and will confirm as soon as possible. Nonetheless, Ratcliffe takes the lead of the race from Emilio Pereira and immediately starts to pull a gap. The fight for the podium, though, between Tommy Williams and Bo Morris. The all-blue, of course, of the 51 of Tommy Williams, closely followed by the white and the red, 57 of Bo Morris. And what a rivalry these two have shared as well, fighting for third place honours. Meanwhile, Ratcliffe and Pereira run away with things up in front. Just under half of this race left to go, and Williams keeping Bo Morris behind in the fight for third.
Yeah, great defence at this point in time from Tommy Williams. And it looks like Bo Morris just has that little bit more at this stage. 5 laps for him, though, left to find his way through. And here it is. He dives up the inside. That was aggressive, a brilliant move, but he can't quite keep it on the tight line, and wow, but he manages to defend for the next corner. He nearly had Tommy Williams back up the inside on exit, but moves over to defend in such a fantastic way. He maintains third place. That was truly amazing from Bo Morris, who manages to hang on to that third place and prevent Tommy Williams from hanging on to his chance at a second podium of the season here in the GP50 class. But still, plenty of time for Tommy Williams to respond.
Yeah, absolutely. Just getting confirmation that Oliver Cheeseman is up on his 2 feet and walking away from what was a scary shunt initially. But oh my goodness me, Bo Morris has dropped it as well through turn number 1, and he's fumbled the podium. Getting involved there, the number 10, quick avoiding action from Adele Everett, who understandably is gutted, but spider-like reflexes to avoid that one. Bo Morris immediately over to his bike to try and get back into this race, but Tommy Williams now with a comfortable ride to bring home the podium. Josh Perkins could still apply a bit of pressure, but that makes life that much more easy for Tommy Williams to get his second podium of the season.
Oh, what a shame. Your heart aches for Bo Morris, who really hasn't had the best of luck this season, has ended up in a lot of incidents that usually haven't been his fault, and it's a real shame to see because he's been so quick. But in fact, something has happened, though. During the time that we were watching that incident occur for Bo Morris while he was being chased down by Tommy Williams, Caelan Ratcliffe has retaken the lead of the race, and I think it reflects the same situation we saw for Bo Morris. Lap traffic possibly making the difference, and now with 3 laps to go, the pendulum swings and Caelan Ratcliffe has to hold on to the lead. Can Emilio Pereira respond in these later stages as lap traffic once again makes a difference in this race?
Yeah, Adele Everett rejoining the race there. Ratcliffe was quick to negotiate it. Pereira getting stuck behind slightly, made the wise decision of backing out. You don't want to be going for a last-ditch move, especially with the speed difference between Pereira and Everett on that run through the right-hander. Ratcliffe dropped from what was about a 1.5 lead down to half a second last time they crossed the line. Pereira getting caught up by Adele Everett will, of course, reopen that gap. You can tell Pereira, you can see the rear end of his championship rival. He's not going to like that one bit, and he's going to be desperate to try and get back through. 49.609 is Ratcliffe's fastest time. A 49.555 is Pereira's fastest time. They are split by virtually nothing, albeit a long distance away from the lap record of Marco Holt. Caelan Ratcliffe still there with Pereira over his shoulder. You cannot afford a mistake, but Pereira, well, he's got a 16-point gap in the championship at the end of this one. With Ratcliffe winning, it'll be down to 11, and they'll be equal on race victories, 5 each, with the 10th race of 21 in 2026. A lap left to go at the line. And, well, what a race that it has been for Caelan Ratcliffe. The composure, the battle that these two have shared, and once again it comes down to the final lap at Ellough Park.
Yeah, Pereira, I was going to say at one point, looking like he's taking second place on the chin and just progressing on through the weekend to see if he can keep his championship lead safely. But he has caught to the back right already of Caelan Ratcliffe and up the inside with an aggressive move to shunt Caelan Ratcliffe all the way out onto the curb. That was an incredible move from Emilio Pereira, who retakes the lead of the race out of nowhere. And now it's going to be all about this last half of the lap as Caelan Ratcliffe Ratcliffe forces his way through and sits up Emilio Pereira. What an amazingly planned move. I thought they were both going to run each other out wide there, but Caelan Ratcliffe, a masterful overtake to retake the lead. When at this point I thought it was over for Emilio Pereira, he gave it another go. It wasn't quite enough because Caelan Ratcliffe in the end was strong enough. It was nearly the run to the line there because Caelan Ratcliffe thought he had it sealed, having run Emilio Pereira wide. But once again, the GP50 class puts on another barnstormer, and Ellough Park proves that racing is always good here on two wheels, and we've got plenty more of it to come tomorrow. Zach, I'm nearly breathless after that. That was an incredible finish between those two yet again.
And after all of that, it was a quick little, nice race. Little fist bump on the second straight there. Beautifully done. Emilio Pereira, Caelan Ratcliffe, the Hornet versus El Toro in 2026. They are great friends off the circuit, but goodness me, you can sense and you can feel the rivalry as it radiates in their racing. That send down the inside, the response from Caelan Ratcliffe. They are trading blows in the championship, and the gap comes down to just 11 points between the two of them. It's 1-0 here at Ellough Park, going the way of Caelan Ratcliffe, but Pereira showcasing that he's got the pace, and almost immediately at the debrief back in pit lane to know what he can do better, a bit better next time. Caelan Ratcliffe, though, takes the victory, his 5th of the season, equal with Emilio Pereira as their domination continues this season. Tommy Williams, well, he waited so long for his first podium. He thought he'd get another one in the next race straight after it. Josh Perkins, Nelly Nuth climbing our way up to P5 at the end of that one from Cedras, Saxby, Longhurst. Bo Morris still finishing P9 despite coming off with a few laps left to go. And Oliver Wilson, the top 10 and the final rider to complete the Nova Racing Metric Mini GP 50 top 10. Riley, let's catch our breath for a moment. What a race that was, what a display that was, and what a championship this is.
Yeah, I can't get enough of it. I just wish that there was a round where it was just full of GP50 classes. I mean, I love all the classes, but GP50 has just been so good. You can't miss it for any of the races left this season. And now we move on with only 2 races to go on Saturday. Extreme 200 comes your way on Saturday evening here at Ellough Park, and Extreme is probably the best way to put it with how many different bikes are out there. There's wildcards galore. Riley Paisley and Wilson Dilks are out there for this one as well. So some big names in the past days of FAB-Racing coming back here at Ellough Park to get a go on the many bikes that are on offer on this grid. You can be on a GP70, you can be on an Ovale, and you can be on a pit bike. That'd be 2-stroke, 4-stroke. You'll see 85s and 140s, 150s, and if you look back over the course of the season, this has been another class where racing has been truly amazing. And as we come towards the end of the day here on Saturday, we have had some really good races here at Ellough Park.
Indeed so, and a big shout out, by the way. We've already commended the staff here both at Ellough Park and as part of FAB-Racing. We are currently running, touchwood, 50 minutes ahead of schedule, 5-0 ahead of schedule, thanks to the incredible work both of course of our hosts at Ellough Park and also FAB-Racing and the race control here at FAB. It is incredible to see, and again, that logistical flow that we get into a rhythm of. These guys are absolutely brilliant, and yeah, big thank you to them. Of course, to the medical crew who we haven't needed their services so far today, but of course their efforts being there, being available, and making sure that we can go racing as effectively and as safely, most crucially, as possible. The penultimate race of the day, Extreme 200s out there on circuit, and well, Geslavsky, off the back of a brilliant victory in the 70s, will be looking to do exactly that, but this time he's got the fierce rival of Wilson Dilks alongside him on the front row.
Yeah, a fierce rival for sure. Someone who's won a good few titles in the FAB-Racing paddock returns to the paddock to get another go here at Ellough Park, and that just proves how much everyone loves this circuit. A lot of people coming back to enjoy their time here in FAB-Racing, possibly getting some laps in as well before we head to Silverstone. And now we head on to the warm-up lap as the Extreme 200, the penultimate race of the day, is about to get underway. But on pole position then is Wilson Dilks, the returning hero, on board his Ovale, ahead of Sebastian Geslavsky in second, and then behind them on the second row of the grid is Rex Austin and Bradley Curtis, followed along by Logan Cousins and Dylan Taurine in the opposite order in 6th and 7th behind Curtis and Austin, and then they are followed in 7th by Tommy Keats and Mason Frederick in 8th, then Riley Paisley lining up 9th, Harrison Quincy in 10th. Now behind that top 10 we have Nicholas Dunwoody, Daisy Polden, Harry James, Thomas Med, Zach Taurine, Scott Dermott, Ben Simpson, Jake Knight, Felix Hearn, Joshua Williams, Bojan Blazewski and Jamie King at the back of the grid in one of the 3 classes that he's racing this weekend. So despite him bigging it up as his home round, his favourite track, and he's doing all these 3 classes because he just loves it so much, he's really not having an easy time out there.
Brutal. I always say everything around. I love how quickly you've learned to get on Jamie King's case. He can take it. He's fine. He'll have a pint this evening. He'll be all good. He might go home and cry, but it's fine. He'll be back smiling next weekend. Make sure, of course, you tune in to Jamie King's vlogs. He gives brilliant insight to the world of pit bike racing and mini bike racing generally, and does a lot for the sport. So as much as we can rinse his results, and he makes it quite easy for us to rinse his results, he does do quite a lot for the sport and is actually pretty decent. It's Ice the Lights though for Extreme 200s. Wilson Dilks on pole position. Sebastian Gazlowski alongside him. The revs rise. Lights go out. We go racing. Great launch there from Wilson Dilks as he'll go in towards the opening corner in the lead, but Rex Austin splitting Curtis and Gazlowski through the middle. Rex Austin once again with a perfect start. Gazlowski's got the run though towards turn number 2. Can't quite seal the deal. Over his shoulder is Bradley Curtis. Now towards the first hairpin at turn number 3. Dilks is the one with the advantage. Gazlowski down the inside of Austin, but Austin keeps second.
Yeah, that's something we have not been able to say much this season, is that someone has got the jump on Sebastian Gazlowski off the line, and already Gazlowski putting that right as he comes back into second place on lap 1 and looks to challenge for the lead. But Wilson Dilks has just pulled into pit lane out of the lead, so something wrong there for Vale on lap 1 as Sebastian Gazlowski now takes the lead of the race. That's unbelievable as Wilson Dilks dives into pit lane. That's an unfortunate issue for him, whatever that was, as he rejoins the track at the back of the field. So we'll have to investigate into that at a later time. But for now, we have Gazlowski back at the lead of the race in the form that we've seen him for most of his Extreme 200 and GP70 races. So let's see if he can control this lead in the race, because Bradley Curtis has made his way into 3rd and looks to make a battle out of this one.
Yeah, Logan Cousins on the 7 as well. We're looking really strong this weekend, trying to chase after Sebastian Gazlowski, who so far in the Extremes has taken 5 victories from the so far 9 races. Of course, Finley Polehill, the one taking the other 4. But he's not with us for the last couple of weekends, so as a result is dropping down in the championship battle, but definitely was a contender all the way up to this point. Across the line though for Sebastian Gazlowski, he'll break the beam, he'll stay in the lead of the race. Rex Austin just in front there, and a drop down through turn number 1. That of course being the is that the number 8 of Tommy Keats potentially, or even the 88 maybe. Nonetheless, it's a drop for Dylan Taurine. The front going through turn 1, devastated, fighting towards the sharp end of the field, and that is race effectively as good as over for the 88.
What a shame. He's been having a really consistent run of form in recent times in the Extreme 200 class, and unfortunately his Saturday comes to an end. But more opportunities tomorrow, 2 more races on Sunday, and plenty more action coming the way of FAB-Racing. Make sure you tune in with me and Zach live tomorrow on Sunday, but we've still got plenty more to come on Saturday. As Sebastian Gazlowski makes his way to the line in first, Logan Cousins trying his best to close that gap in second place, and everyone at the moment trying to stay as tightly packed together as possible, barring Sebastian Gazlowski, of course, who tries to pull away in the lead as he has so many times this season.
Yeah, exactly that. There's Mason Frederick. He's got Tommy Keats for company just over his shoulder. That's the blue, yellow and white number 8, chasing after the number 50. Like I say, of Mason Frederick battles through the field in the Extreme class, and you are going to see a bit of a mosh pit of different types of bikes, and well, that's the DNA of the Extreme 200 class, the culmination of so many different ideologies still getting decently similar pace out there on circuit. Sebastian Gazlowski leads Logan Cousins from Bradley Curtis, your top 3. Rex Austin from Mason Frederick, the top 5 from Tommy Keats. Then comes Riley Paisley from Thomas Med, Harrison Quincy and Daisy Polden, your top 10. That battle there, though, between Keats and Frederick is for the top 5. Frederick, well, keeping him honest, through turn number 2, washes a little bit wide, and we have seen a couple of times there that people attempted to go for a move. A rider down off the exit of turn number 2. Is that Logan Cousins? It is. He's dropped it from P2 and down and out of this race.
Oh, what a shame. He was running so well, so well to stay so close to the back of Sebastian Gawlowski, getting closer than anyone has so far in the last couple rounds, really, when he's been leading so dominantly. And unfortunately, a premature end to his race here on Saturday evening, but more to come from him tomorrow, I'm sure. More opportunities for him to contend for that podium. And I'll tell you what, a bit of a theory I have going on about Wilson Dilks' issue that may have occurred going into pit lane. I don't think it might have been an issue, because he looked behind him, dived into the pit lane, and then came straight back out again and is shopping his way through the field. You can see there on the left side, he's made his way back into 10th place, possibly trying his luck and seeing how quick it takes him to chop his way through the grid as he chases down Daisy Polden for 9th place. But we'll see how long it takes him to get through the pit lane, and basically gave himself a drive-through penalty. So trying to make it interesting then is Wilson Dilks, because Sebastian Gawlowski is sailing away with victory at this point in time.
He could still elect to start from the back of the grid there, and arguably he's going to have maybe a bit more fun over time with that. I don't know. Nonetheless, self-serving penalty at least for Wilson Dilks. He's back into the top 10 though, showing his talent, and if nothing else, an excuse for him to, well, learn how to keep his head, to practice his racecraft, and lessons that he's learned in his time here at FAB, and lessons that he carries through in his other racing endeavors. Wilson Dilks, a legend of the FAB-Racing paddock, the 2024 Extreme 200 and Mini GP 70 champion in dominant fashion on both occasions. And there he is. You can see squirming the rear end of the bike to get the rotation through turn number 4 and chasing after Harrison Quincy, now running P9, eyeing up P8.
Oh, completely sideways. He's pushing as hard as he can, is Wilson Dilks, leaving nothing out there at Ellough Park to do as much as he can to beat his lap record of a 46.7. And he now chases down Harrison Quincy for 8th place and continues to chop his way through the field as he's going to get the wider exit and try and get the run down the straight into turn 1. Surely he's going to make the move here. Here he comes up the inside, gets the move done, perfectly executed by Wilson Dilks, who's now going to prepare for the next few riders and enter the top 5. Let's see if he can make a top 5 out of this. That'll be a great ride from him to start his weekend off at Ellough Park.
Yeah, exactly down the inside, sitting the bike up there. Wilson Dilks just parting the sea here at Ellough Park. I mean, oh, what a ride. Just incredible. And you can see he's giving everyone else a lesson on how to ride a bike quickly. Obviously coming back into the FAB-Racing paddock since with a trim, and, well, definitely not Samson, let's put it that way. The hair clearly not the answer to his speed out of the final corner, and trying to chase after now what will be another position maybe towards the top 5 with 3 laps left to go. It's going to be a tough ask, but if anyone can do it, you can bet that Wilson Dilks will do it. Up from a drive-through to P6 from pole position, and I mean, he's using every inch of the track surface available. He's leaving nothing on the table, and just out there you can see he is the fastest rider on circuit by quite some margin. In fairness though to Sebastian Gawlowski, he's only a 10th slower in terms of best lap time to Wilson Dilks. I think that shows a lot about how good Gawlowski is this weekend also.
Yeah, especially since, of course, you may have heard us mention in the GP70 class that it is his first time here at Ellough Park on the GP70, whereas you could probably bet that Wilson Dilks has had a good few laps around this track on this ovale he is on, because he is pushing so hard at this point in time as he now comes to the final lap of the race. Sebastian Gawlowski, oh sorry, no, the penultimate lap of the race, that is, as Sebastian Gawlowski leads the way ahead of Bradley Curtis and Rex Austin. But he's got some work to do as Wilson Dilks to catch the other ovale in front of him in these last 2 laps of Mason Frederick to try and get into P5. And I think it's a doable thing, but it's going to take a long time. He's going to have to stay really consistent and doesn't want to push too hard here to end up making a mistake on his way to chase down P5.
Not at all. But I mean, he's consistent, and sometimes as well, you just reach flow state as a rider. You're in the zone. You're doing exactly what you need to, and sometimes actually backing off and slowing down, it's more of a recipe to make a mistake because you're actively having to change something. When you're in that flow state, you've just got to keep doing what you're doing. He's clearly in control. He clearly knows what he's doing. Same too for Sebastian Gawlowski, by the way, who will extend the gap at the top of the championship. Half a lap between himself and his, well, 5th victory of the season. And chasing after Bojan Brzezowski to put a lap on the 82. Nice to see him getting to the end of the race, though, for Bojan Blaszczewski after an incident earlier on in the day. Sebastian Gazlowski, though, through the final couples of corners, with Wilson Dilks giving himself that self-serving drive-through penalty, has walked away with this. And once again, it's a fantastic display from Super Seb Gazlowski through the final corner, sees the checkered flag fly, takes victory once more in Extreme 200s, brought to you by Ellough Moto. And Gazlowski with another victory to add to the cabinet this weekend. What a ride. And with it, like I say, extends the gap in the championship, unchallenged so far at Ellough Park.
Yeah, just doing such a good job to get out there and get his race started and go for it. He got held up quite a lot by a lot of people going through on him at the start of the race, but came back really nicely, really confidently to take victory ahead of Bradley Curtis and Rex Austin. And adding to my theory regarding Wilson Dilks, I think he might have just wanted a bit more TV time, perhaps, because if he dominated that pace that he had, he definitely had the pace to go ahead and dominate this race, because he was so quick, and might have just realised if I drop to the back of the grid and force my way through with a lot of battles, then I could get more TV time than I would if I had a massive lead in the front of the race. So possibly chasing a career in acting rather than motorcycle racing, or both at the same time for Wilson Dilks. We'll have to wait and see, though, because he came 5th in that race. So let's see if he can improve as the weekend goes on.
Do you think he'd have run away with it? Well, I don't know, because Sebastian Gazlowski's pure pace was not that far off, and that was without having to chase after him. Nonetheless, Sebastian Gazlowski takes victory by 9.4 seconds ahead of Bradley Curtis, Rex Austin, your podium. Tommy Keats, Wilson Dilks from drive-through to P5. Mason Frederick, then comes Paisley, Med, Quincy and Polden, your top 10 after 11 laps of racing action in the Ellough Moto Extreme 200s. Yeah, I don't know. I think Gazlowski would have given Dilks a good run for his money, and we would definitely still would have seen plenty of Wilson Dilks. The Extreme 200s, though, and our penultimate race of the day done and dusted. These guys will be back up for race 2 and race 3 tomorrow. Will it be Super Seb back to the top, or will Wilson Dilks be able to ascend and return to FAB-Racing glory? Join us tomorrow to find out.
Moto team comes your way for the second time today and for the final time on Saturday. FAB-Racing ends its schedule on Saturday evening with Moto team. 2 out of 4 races this weekend for this class. That won't be at Silverstone, unfortunately, but they'll be back out in full force in about a month's time at Rowra. Make sure you come along, whether you're riding, watching, or watching live with me and Zach on YouTube, be that Motorsport Radio or FAB-Racing. All the support is welcomed, of course, for your favourite riders in the multiple classes we have at FAB-Racing. And a bit of a celebrity, I guess you sort of alluded to earlier, Zach, of Pitbike Sonic. He's this is, I guess, considered the most well-known member of the paddock is Jamie King, who's doing 10 races this weekend, which you'll hear him talk about a lot on the YouTube. Whether it's moaning about it or excitement, we'll have to wait and see, because that'll change whether he does well tomorrow or not. But we'll have to wait and see. Second place in the first race this morning, so not a bad job from Jamie King in a class that he hasn't raced all season to come home second behind Acme Racing.
If Jamie King does 10 races a weekend and doesn't win one of them, I mean, sort it out, surely, especially your home circuit. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, Jamie King, I mean, definitely Ellough Park wouldn't be very happy with Jamie King if that is the case. He might lose his garage privileges. Everyone else is in an awning and setting themselves up. Jamie King, nice and comfortable in the garages. Let's see if he can top up what was a respectable P2 earlier on today. Let's not beat around the bush. He did do very well, but the expectation for a rider of his caliber to come into this weekend with such of an accolade, and as we say, maybe a celebrity, if you like, big quotation marks there. I actively did them as I said that. Maybe should be challenging for the race lead, but Team Acme have been racing very well. Marco Pandolfo come and said they were riding very, very close to lap record pace, so it is quite a big step for Jamie King to rise to, especially with how dominant that we've seen Acme be at the front of Motor Team.
Yeah, 100%. It's clearly clearly a track that he is well in tune with to jump from bike to bike and still be somewhat competitive inside the top 5. So nonetheless, it is still a good performance from Jamie King, but he is searching for that little bit more. I mean, why else would you do an extra cool races a weekend? It would be to win them, and that's exactly what Jamie King will be wanting to do here. And speaking of wanting to win will be Thomas Dudson, who has played second fiddle to Ivano Di Francesco many a time already this season in the standard class, and got really close this time round earlier on this afternoon, and doesn't want it to happen again, because Ivano Di Francesco will find himself with a much bigger advantage heading out of this round.
Maybe so. They'll roll their way onto their formation lap for their second race of the weekend. And, well, the starting order is the finishing order of race number 1. So Marco Pandolfo for Team Acme, who is chasing the lap record, will start from pole position alongside Jamie King and Ivano Di Francesco in P3. In fact, no, it wouldn't be Ivano Di Francesco. It's going to be Thomas Dudson in P3. Ivano Di Francesco alongside him on the second row of the grid. And let's see, we've got the standard leaders on the second row. We've got the open leaders on the front row. Well, we'll have to find out what's going to happen in that respective chase and that respective battle. All to come over the next 11 laps of racing. Thank you for your company, by the way, if you've been with us all day long. Myself, Zach Sweeney, Riley Davis, bringing you the action here at FAB-Racing, round number 4 of the 2026 campaign. And like I say, thank you for your company. Let us know where you're watching from. Let us know who you're cheering on for. Let us know what your favourite race of the day has been thus far. And we hope we can have your company for what is going to be 21 races tomorrow on Sunday to tick us over into the halfway point of the season. Riley, what do we expect from this race? Will it be a walk-away win for Marco Pandolfo, or will Jamie King have some sort of talent show and go for the win?
I think Acme Racing will dominate yet again, but we'll just have to wait and see, because the experience now of one race could help Jamie King to push a bit harder and go for it on these early laps like he did in the previous race, but be able to command the race a little bit more dominantly. But I think the way to look is the battle between Thomas Dudson and Ivano Di Francesco for the final spot on the podium overall and the lead in the standard class.
Indeed so. For the final time today, it will be eyes to the lights. Marco Pandolfo on the metallic green number 8 machine. Jamie King alongside him. There you can see representing Ellough Park is Pit Bike Sonic. Let's see if we can get some good content. Bit of a jump start and a couple of twitches in the background. But we go racing for the final time today. And they spread themselves 3 wide towards the opening corner. Ivano Di Francesco down the inside of Jamie King, who gets the switch back. Has he got the speed towards turn number 2 to contend for second place overall? Just about able to throw the bike down the inside. Marco Pandolfo now with a comfortable lead and will be looking to ride away with a comfortable victory as well. He wants to go for the lap record here at Ellough Park. There's jostles and changes all the way through the forensic field of Moto Team, but it's comfortable as ever and smooth sailing for Team Acme.
That was an aggressive start there from Ivano Di Francesco, moving Jamie King out the way in turn 1, trying to get into second place overall, doing the best he can to escape from Thomas Dudson behind him, who you feel has got a little bit of a better chance to take a victory in the standard class this time round. As I said earlier, played second fiddle so many times to Ivano Di Francesco in the standard class, but got really close, about half a second off Ivano Di Francesco at the end of the race. But that doesn't tell the full story of how close they were throughout the majority of it. At the end of today's action, we may see Thomas Dudson taking his first victory in quite a while in the standard class if he can pass Ivano Di Francesco, but plenty more time left in the race for that to happen, because Team Acme taking away with the lead of the race. But I'll tell you what, Thomas Dudson already losing touch with Ivano Di Francesco, because a sparking confidence from the number 141 as he's now on the back of Jamie King for second place and looking to make a move, as we're currently watching a battle of quite a few riders down towards the lower ends of the top 10, trying their best to get home a great result for their team. Of course, in Moto Team, you can have multiple different riders on the bike. Of course, not in the same race. That's not possible. But across a weekend and across the season, you can have 4 riders sharing one bike and doing the best they can to get the maximum amount of points. That was one of the O'Keeffes there. Couldn't quite see their number as they tried to make their way through into the next position ahead. That was a daring move, and thankfully they decided not to commit, because that could have ended in tears. But there we go. As you can see, Ivano Di Francesco piling the pressure on Jamie King for second overall.
just to clarify and to clear up any confusion, namely for ourselves in the commentary box mainly, Jamie King is racing in the standard category, not the open, as what we sort of previously believed. So this is a fight actually for overall P2, yes, but also for the standard race victory. So it's Jamie King who won in the standard earlier on today, taking some crucial points away from Ivana Di Francesco. Thomas Dudson thus was denied of that, and well, still took a very respectable P2, but nonetheless it means that Jamie King is becoming a bit of an upset. What it does mean is that technically he has won one of his 10 races so far this weekend. He's looking to go for 2, and right now running second place overall, but the fight far from over. Ivana Di Francesco looking to be chasing after that standard victory between the 76 and the 141. 7.5 laps left to go, and Jamie King under a bit of pressure from the championship leader in Moto Team Standard.
Yeah, 8 laps to go. I don't know if they can challenge Team Acme Racing, because yet again they have pulled out such an amazing gap on the riders behind them, and no SFC to challenge them for victory means they've got a plain sailing job to the line here on Saturday. Maybe that'll change tomorrow if a few more riders come to form and try and upset the rhythm of Acme Racing in the early stages of tomorrow's races. Of course, 2 more races coming away of this class on Sunday morning and Sunday evening. Make sure you join us for them and for all the action in tomorrow's schedule. But right now we've got 7 laps left of racing on Saturday, and right now Jamie King doing the best he can to defend from 2nd place in the standard class and 3rd overall. Ivana Di Francesco being the championship leader, is it worth the risk or not? Does he want the pride and joy of taking away what is, okay, again, effectively a sort of win, while it might not be overall a win nonetheless in the standard class for Jamie King? Does he want the pleasure of taking that one away from the home hero?
Maybe so. I mean, to deny Jamie King on home soil is something that all of these riders are aspiring to do. In pit bikes, they've done it. In the extremes, they managed to do it. In fact, he might have actually won the seniors. Didn't check that, but nonetheless, he didn't win overall, and that's more important, isn't it? Regardless, he's P2 overall. He's P1 in the standard category. Is Jamie King. Our focus, of course, shifts elsewhere, because through the rest of the field, it is incredibly tight. And again, Moto Team continuing to be as close, competitive, and impressive as ever. Jacques Van Eden on the 67, but showing up on your timing screen as the 17 with the pink wheels, chasing after what is going to be Sam Sadler just in front of him for P5 overall. If you have got a qualifying bike, head over to the FAB-Racing website, see if you're eligible, get your license and join us on the grid. Motor Team, a very budget-friendly form of motor racing, and well, gives us some incredible battles like this one. The 166 trying to go the long way round, and Jacques Van Eden in the battle for 5th, 6th and 7th. Right now though, for Sam Sadler, he's keeping his composure, he's keeping his cool, and for now keeps Van Eden behind.
Yeah, it'd be a good job from him to take home a top 5 in this battle, but I'm not sure if it's quite possible if the battle continues to heat up, because of way more riders joining that back of the pack, and there's still quite a few laps to go in this race, so plenty of time for the riders behind to join the battle and make it a big group for that 5th place on the standings. But at the moment though, it looks to me like Jamie King, looking at the timing, has pulled out quite the gap over Ivana Di Francesco, so it looks like Ivana Di Francesco thinking more about the championship. And in fact, is that Jamie King catching up to Acme Racing? No, it's not. It's I've got both riders confused, because I'm used to seeing the bright green of Acme Racing out in front, and then the blue and red helmet for Pit Bike Sonic. It's not Pit Bike Sonic or Acme Racing. It's of course the bright yellow machine of Sadler, I think, fighting for that 5th position as well, 5th and 6th position, with the many riders in that group.
Yeah, exactly that. The 67, that's the 17 of Jacques Van Eden. Just in front, of course, is Sam Sadler, and over their shoulder is Mario Gelli in P7. Not too far behind is Reed, but with 4 laps left to go as they cross the line, is Acme 3.1 seconds clear of Jamie King, running consistently about a second quicker than Jamie King a lap. Down the inside though, Jacques Van Eden on Sam Sadler to turn number 1. The pink wheels prevail and goes through. Sadler with the up and the under, maybe contending towards turn number 2, but can't quite manage it. So Jacques Van Eden up into P5 overall and moves himself up another position. That is actually for podium. No, it's for P4 in class. Apologies. King, Di Francesco, and Dudson are your top 3 in the standard. And then this is the fight for 4th place in class. Ducking their way through traffic, though, you can see 3 riders jostling for track position through turn number 4. It's here, there, and everywhere, as to be expected in Moto Team.
Yeah, 100%. There's always a group battle wherever you look across the grid. And this one certainly serving up a spectacle. We've seen so many trio battles across the classes today. Now in Moto Team, we saw it in pit bikes, and we saw it in the AC40 interclass. So there's been nothing short of truly fantastic action here at Ellough Park, and it all continues tomorrow. And hopefully this battle continues on for the next 3 laps for the final spots in the top 5. But there is a move there up the inside, and a brilliant move at that, but quickly responded to. Can't quite find the way through, not just yet, and there it is. What a fantastic move from what I think is Van Eden taking advantage of Sadler there to get it into that top 5 position. So again, that battle getting really spicy in the later stages of this race.
Yeah, absolutely. There's Team Atmi, though, your race leaders overall, and, well, bang on par. Almost impossible for them to get anything less than that, to be honest. No birdies or eagles for Marco Pandolfo. His main championship rival isn't here. The expectation is that he runs away with it and builds up what is a potential 99-point advantage heading into the second half of the season. He was 1 point behind SFC coming into this round with 25 points for a win last time out. Well, he's 24 points clear, and we're still 75 points on offer over the rest of the weekend. He's still got to secure the race 2 victory, but he looks almost certain to do that. It's exactly what he needs to do to get himself closer and closer to yet another Moto Team Championship. But this time, of course, a much larger contention and a much bigger battle forming between, well, the number 8 and the absent 133 through the rest of the season. Last lap flag is shown, though, and Team Atmi Racing just have to bring it home, parade themselves round and get closer and closer to that lap record. Their best time this race is a 51.722. And, well, we'll get confirmation as to what the lap record is and whether or not that's any close. But it does mean that Marco Pandolfo is gunning for it. Maybe not this lap, though, with the presence of the lap traffic that he's got. Not really sure you can set a lap record when you're having to dart your way through some riders. Yeah,
and unfortunately, it's just a thing that comes into play in nearly every lap of the Moto Team races, and you learn to realise that as a Moto Team rider, I suppose, as the races go on, as you get faster and faster and more competitive at the top of the championship. You can see that the lap riders always make the difference, but making the difference this time round is powerful Pandolfo on board the Acme Racing machine, coming around the final corner to take his 2nd victory of the weekend, adding to the tally this season. Jamie King coming home in 2nd place to win the standard class race, but 2nd overall. And now Ivano Di Francesco ending up 3rd, 2nd in the standard class. Thomas Dudson still can't get that overall podium position. A shame for him, but still plenty more chances across the weekend.
Absolutely. Jamie King winning, of course, in the standard class. P2 overall, hanging on, and the pressure was building from Ivano Di Francesco. Jamie King doing very nicely indeed in Moto Team. Would like to replicate some of that success in his other endeavours, but nonetheless, nothing can be taken away from Team Atmi Racing. It's yet another victory to add to the tally in 2026, and yet more championship points to add to what is a ever-growing total for the number 8 machine. It's been a wild and windy day here at Ellough Park. The Motor Team concludes the 11th and final race of the day. We'll run you through the results, though, for the 2nd race of 4 for Moto Team, ahead of 2 more tomorrow. Team Atmi Racing, 2.3 seconds from Jamie King, who takes victory in the standard class. Ivano Di Francesco in P3 from Thomas Dudson in P4. Sam Sadler from Jacques Van Eden, Mario Gelli, then comes Reed and the two O'Keefe's 9th and 10th, separated by not so much as they cross the line as well. Team Atmi Racing, well, you can bet is going to be quite happy with that one indeed, and I'm sure still in the pursuit for that illustrious lap record.
Yeah, of course, not too far off now. With I'm sure we'll find out that lap record eventually, to find out how close he can get and if he can beat it this weekend. And to be honest, if he even needs to beat it this weekend, because he's so much faster than everyone else, that he can take those 99 points without challenging the lap record by miles, because he's doing so well at the moment in the Moto Team class. Could easily find himself with a massive advantage over SFC heading to their next round at Raura.
Indeed. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, of course, for your company over today, and I cannot wait to see what we've got in store for us tomorrow. Of course, we'll head our way into the second half of the 2026 Mastermac FAB-Racing British Minibike Championship, and I hope that we can have your company, because today, Riley, I mean, nothing short of spectacular from each and every single one of our classes. I don't think we actually had a boring race in all 11 of them. There was something to talk about, a story to tell, and that's what we've come to expect in this paddock.
Oh, 100%. It is always the tale of FAB Racing. There's always a brilliant race of amazing battles, dive bombs, and all sorts of strategy going on. And then there'll be a dominant performance, a true hero, putting in the ride of their life to take home such a dominant race victory. That is Team Acme Racing. Right there has been proven as that sole victor here at Ellough Park. What a brilliant ride from him, and possibly going to take 2 more wins yet again tomorrow.
Potentially so. Ladies and gentlemen, like I say, once more, thank you for your company. If you've joined us from the beginning, no matter how many races you watched, I hope they were entertaining, because they definitely were for us in the commentary box. Of course, round number 4 of the 2026 Mastermac FAB-Racing British Minibike Championship has brought us down to Suffolk and to Beccles. Have a good evening. We'll see you first thing tomorrow morning.